Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project. Are you ready?
So this is a question I want to ask you, Paul. Is there still opportunities in TV and radio, terrestrial radio, as you see it, in relation to how it was when you started your career?
Well, certainly not like it was. But yeah, I mean, there's always going to be local sports, local weather. You can't. One of my favorite discussions with a TV news director was talking about how every time there was even like the hint of a weather event, they took the time from sports and gave it to weather. And it was just, and we had this great discussion. I said, well, I watch the Weather Channel. He goes, well, I go, local on the 8s. You're throwing ESPN at me? They don't have local on the 8s on ESPN. Yes, ESPN is a big deal, and this was back in the day. This was probably mid-'90s, around there, maybe early 2000s. And I just said, all right, here's what you do, because weather's everything to everybody. It affects everybody.
Sure.
Open a weather bar and just show radar all through. Come see your local meteorologist, and we'll just watch radar. No, how many sports bars are there in Pittsburgh?
Oh, can't count.
Thousands.
Right, can't count.
Thousands, and they keep growing and growing and growing, and they keep putting them everywhere. Everything's sports themed. I mean, if you don't have a TV,
especially this time,
you better have really good food. I mean, your food better be off the charts, because if there's a Sunday or a big game or something going on, and you don't have a TV in your restaurant or bar,
I get it.
So I said, you're not going to open a weather bar, are you? It's not going to happen, is it? Because you know what?
Right.
People aren't passionate about weather. Yeah, it affects them.
Yeah.
But that's 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. What's it doing today? What's it doing tonight? Mm-hmm. Tell me what the weekend's going to be.
Yeah.
That's 30 seconds.
Right.
So that used to make me crazy. And it was funny when that news director left and they brought in a new direction. I remember I was filling in for Bob Pompiani one day, and I think they extended Bill Cowher or something. Like, we had major sports news.
Sure.
It was Bill Cowher's contract extension after the 2 losing seasons.
Okay.
So it's kind of a
that's a big
deal. Hey,
that's a big deal.
The Steelers are serious about never firing coaches. I mean, that's pretty real.
Right.
So they wouldn't let me mention that in the 5 o'clock hour of the news. You can leave the 6 o'clock, but we're not putting sports in 5. They still think that the wife's at home cooking dinner at 5 with the TV on.
That's archaic.
It's insane. So when they got new leadership at KDK, you know what they started doing in the 5 o'clock hour? Paying a Steeler $1,000 to come in and do a 5-minute interview. Because the guy that came in knew that Pittsburgh is all about sports.
Yeah.
So I just
so
laughed.
Why is that though? You traveled a lot in your life, right? You traveled a lot.
It's honestly the '70s Steelers.
That's the catalyst of it all.
I think that changed everything. Now, granted, we have the Mazeroski home run, and this is still when the Pirates are going, this is a baseball town.
Yeah,
Make no mistake about it. A lot of people.
I agree.
This isn't a baseball town. This isn't a basketball town.
It is.
Look at Pitt when they came out of the gates with the Pete. I mean, you couldn't get a ticket.
Right.
I mean, that's 12,500 seats.
Yeah,
now, granted, there were like 1,400 people, for the stalling season, in those stands, and it was awful. I mean, it's still product-based. You better put a winner, at least to a degree, on any kind of playing surface. But this is the great sports town of all time. I grew up here, went to Penn State, fell in love with Happy Valley, fell in love with the football program, ended up staying there for 15 years, working in radio and TV. And every year I was looking to make the move, I knew it was going to be another run for a championship for Penn State football, and I didn't want to miss it.
Got it.
And I didn't want to make any intermediate moves. I had opportunities in Indianapolis, some other places. I just wanted to come straight here.
Okay.
I didn't want to make that, I had kids. I didn't want to move them around for a 2-year contract. And you know how fickle the business is. You don't make that big move, and then they bring in a new GM or a new news director, and they always bring in their people. I mean, that's the way it works. So I was lucky enough to skip, the intermediate steps and come straight from, market 92 in Altoona to then market 24 in Pittsburgh. But it was funny. I got a call from my first general manager. He had gone on to do big things with CBS Radio in D.C. He said, hey, we're flipping a country station to do talk radio. And I said...
what year would this been? Roughly?
Probably like 2006, 2007.
Okay.
And then I started, I always followed the trends.
Right.
CBS was doing that in every market. Flipping a music station, making it all sports.
Got it.
So... I said, not D.C. I said, Sam, I love you. I mean, you gave me my first opportunity. I had a great run. We had a blast working together. Talk radio is not going to fly in D.C. Now they're doing okay. I mean, they have one in Baltimore and they have one in D.C. and they're okay. But then I was full-time TV at then FSN, Root, now at&t.
Right.
So Michael Young, who had actually fired me because when KDKA got out of the pirate business, they removed all their talk shows. So it was certainly not malicious at all.
Right.
Just said we're moving away from sports. That's not what we're going to do. So I mean, it worked out perfectly. Actually, I mean, the timing it was in 05. So I get how about this for 6 of us, Penn Tech, God bless him, rest his soul, a couple other guys. There were 6 of us on December the 28th that got fired, and the Post-Gazette, in its beautiful, very empathetic, wonderfully sensitive way, dumped with our 6 pictures on the front page of the paper. Slow news day.
Very.
Dumped.
Ouch.
But
wow,
that's also when the Steelers are making that little run to the Super Bowl. So KDK-TV, which I was working for as well,
right?
They were bringing me in every day at a very nice rate. I'm like, okay, this works.
Sure.
You know, my ex-wife's like going, can we keep doing this? I'm like, no, as soon as the Super Bowl's over, they're going to wave goodbye. They're not going to pay me that much every day. I mean, it was a ridiculous number. Andrew Stockey, right at that same juncture, decided he was a news guy. I'm not sure who told him he was a news guy, but he decided he was a news guy. No offense to Andrew. So TAE calls. I hear you're available. Well, I'm going to make this run with KDKA through the Super Bowl, but same time FSN calls. Hey, you're available. Because everyone, it was all hands on deck. When you're making a run to the Super Bowl, you don't have enough people to do all you want to do.
Got it.
So I spent a week in Seattle. I spent a week in Denver for the championship game. That was with FSN. This is all freelance. I'm having a blast. I mean, people are calling me every day. Also, Channel 11 just bought Fox. You know, they do that Fox stuff.
Yeah.
So they called me. Ray Saunders, the GM at Channel 11, goes, we need another sports guy to do our 10 o'clock sports. I'm like, this timing.
It was famine to feast.
This timing's fantastic. So I'm in Denver for the week. Right. I get a call on my way back. My son was, he was probably 2 or 3. I didn't see him for a whole week. My sister brought him out to the airport because then KDK goes, we're sending you to Seattle for the week in between the championship games and the Super Bowl. I'm like, okay, I got to get some clothes. I got off a plane in Pittsburgh from Denver and then got on a plane and went to Seattle.
Wow.
And then I just said, first contract wins. Channel 11, Channel 4, KDK TV, and FSN. FSN was first. Yeah. And they were doing sports at an all-sports station is where you want to be.
Yeah, I would think so.
Sports for the non-sports fan, to me, is why do it?
Got it.
I mean, granted, you can't go all X's and O's in the 5 o'clock hour on KDKA. I get that. But still, we have sophisticated female sports fans in this town.
No question.
They don't want it watered down.
No question.
They want to know why the corners are playing 10 yards off when it's 3rd and 8. They actually want to know that kind of stuff.
Without a doubt.
So it ended up being a great run at FSN, and then I couldn't resist the radio thing again, and I was the first person that got to speak on the Fan.
That's very cool.
That's pretty cool. They can't take that away from me. That happened.
Not at all.
So that was pretty cool.
So you were roughly the same age. We grew up in this town together. You take it back to your comment about the 70 Steelers started why this town is sports crazy.
Yeah. You went 4 Super Bowls in 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and the names. I mean, you just think of the Hall of Famers, and some of those guys still aren't in there. L.C. Greenwood's not in there. Donnie Shell's not in there. I mean, I think, and that was going through the whole, downturn of the steel industry.
Right.
So not only were we crazy about the Steelers here, every city was getting thousands of Pittsburgh transplants that had to find work elsewhere.
Never thought about that.
And I get such a kick out of, I mean, they're finally starting to catch on. And I traveled with the Steelers before they got rid of Stan Saverin's sports beat on FSN, which was tragic, in my opinion. I mean, probably, and it's so funny, the higher ups, they do this silly Dan Patrick radio show on TV thing, which isn't bad, but it's they said, why don't you do that locally? And this is after they had already eliminated Stan's show, and they said, we did that for the last 21 years, and you guys got rid of it. They don't right hand, left hand. They don't even know what they're doing. But every time, and I would travel with the Steelers, and you show up at their hotel, it's like the Rolling Stones or it's like the Beatles.
I've heard that.
I mean, it is absolutely insane. The hotel's absolutely filled. And then every, you see the games, and there's 30, 40, 50% black and gold in the stands. I'm like, wow, these Steeler fans travel. No, they traveled in the 70s to go get work. This is where they live. Come on, do the math. There's not that many flights from Pittsburgh to San Diego for that particular Sunday. You can't fill up a stadium with people that just flew from Pittsburgh.
So your belief is that the economy's sunk, and obviously the steel economy sunk.
Died.
Yeah. So all these folks left.
Yeah, they had to,
and probably different age demographics.
Sure.
Florida. A lot of them went to Florida.
Yeah.
Or the coastline.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, Carolinas. So that's why you see these Steeler bars everywhere, too.
Oh, my God. I mean, great story. Two good stories for Steeler fans in Hofbrauer House here in Pittsburgh. Okay. At one time, there was only one other one, and that was in Cincinnati. They had 2 years back-to-back where they had, like, the most insane numbers ever on Sundays. Guess what those 2 Sundays were? Steelers at Bengals.
Of course.
So they said, we're going to build one in Pittsburgh. I mean,
I get it.
And the Steeler bar thing, there's several. I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, there's like 10 in New York City, 10 in Chicago, but there's a famous one that's just huge out in Phoenix. And they hit you with like a $10 cover charge, and they bump the prices up pretty high, and they get like a couple thousand people.
Wow.
Someone built one right next door and said, come on in for free.
You got to be kidding.
And there's still, there's overflow crowds for both. I mean, you can't. This Steeler thing is the most insane thing ever.
Are they America's team?
They are.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of the slogans and on the rivalries, the Cowboys and the Raiders and all these teams.
And even the Patriots winning every Super Bowl, no one likes them, but their own fans.
They're hated. Yeah. I don't think Pittsburgh had that. I mean, there's obviously fans that have taken it on the chin from the Steelers many times over.
Raiders fans, Cleveland fans. I mean, I always felt bad, actually, for the old Houston Oilers.
Yeah.
Those teams were so damn good.
They were good.
And they just couldn't, Bum Phillips saying, we got to knock the door down, and they couldn't do it.
I went back and watched a couple of those games on YouTube, of all places, and there were some good calls that kind of went the Steelers' way in that game.
How about Jackie Smith in that Super Bowl? I mean,
how does he drop that, right? And there was a pass interference call, I think, in one of the AFC Championship games with Houston. Was it
Renfro?
Turner?
I think it was a ball to Renfro. Yeah, they just knocked him out.
Yeah,
no call.
But I mean, you've been involved in sports for so long, it all kind of evens out in the end,
does.
right? I mean, there are some big moments in sports where a call changed something, but in the end, they're all playing the same amount of games,
and people,
it evens out.
People always look at the last play of a game or the last touchdown, the last hoop. What about the 6 missed free throws 20 seconds before that?
Okay, so let's talk about that. So are Pittsburgh fans, because I hear this from other guests I had from other cities, y'all are spoiled. A guy comes in from Dallas, and they're Cowboys fans, but they look at this city and the baseball. They look at the hockey. To him, we're spoiled.
Yeah.
I mean, are we spoiled? Do you think the fan is spoiled?
You think about the Penguins in that sweep and that early exit from the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I mean, people wanted wholesale changes. Sullivan got to go. Sid's lost it. Gino has to go. Letang has to go. I mean,
they were quick for blaming this time.
Yeah. And they're no longer sports fans. Mm-hmm. Everybody is an official during the game because you just sit in the stands. I mean, I haven't had that many opportunities to actually just sit in the stands and be around fans. I've always been in a press box, but everyone is an O or D coordinator, and then once that play starts, they're an official. That's holding. That's interference. No one just cheers for their team. Right. No one gets behind their team. Yeah. And the blame game is probably the worst.
Well, I think the Pirates feel a lot of that, though. Yeah. They have, and they have a small market team in a very tough league. I'm an Oakland A's fan. I've been my whole life. There's a lot of similarities between those two groups. Sure. And they have to find a way to win with financial restrictions, and it's just hard. And I think that, but the people still go. There's still a love for baseball in this town.
We're down about 4,500 fans per game since the playoff years.
I believe that, but I think the whole league's down too.
They've turned on the owner. Mm-hmm. But I think what happens is, and it's inevitable, when you see like this team in particular, they're a lot of fun to watch. You watch Brian
I would
Reynolds
agree.
come up, and now Kevin Newman and some of these young
And
kids.
Bell's playing insanely.
They just kept you watch Vasquez close out a game. I mean, hitting 100 miles an hour. I mean, you can't hold them accountable for what the owner is or isn't doing. And here's an example I use, and I use it too much, but to me, until they have a salary cap, until they cap it, I mean, a cap. And the reason the Penguins don't win a Stanley Cup every year is because they have a Stanley Cup. And when they win a cup, some of their important role players go get paid a lot more than the Penguins could ever dream of paying them.
Correct.
And they take it and they go, which they should.
Right.
Because that's how it's designed. So you don't have a dynasty. You don't have.
Right.
Baseball is a mess because there's no cap. And that revenue sharing is kind of bunk. I mean, it's really not real. For example, at&t Sports, and I don't have the figure exact, but I know it's close. The Pirates get about $50 million per year to broadcast the games from at&t.
Okay.
FSN LA, imagine what they paid the Dodgers. $350 million. So there's a difference of $200 million, $300 million that they can use on
operating revenue
that they can use on payroll. So what fans don't want to hear, and sometimes like when people just go like unabashedly at nothing, I'll just say the Pirates spend more of their revenue percentage-wise on payroll than the Dodgers, Yankees, all the other teams, because they're still putting a lot more in their pocket than the Pirates are. But then all these Forbes magazine reports come out that the nutting's the richest. Not even close.
Yeah,
it's not even close.
There's a lot of distortion. There's absolutely a lot of distortion about that. I will say this though, as a fan, just watching this particular number, and that is team valuation. So I will say this: I understand it's a business, and there's a P&L in every business. We talk about that off air, but and you want to show a profit, or maybe at least break even to keep the team in town, right? But baseball, as I'm guessing the NFL as well, and maybe in hockey, it's almost like if you buy a team, if you get the money to buy a team, you're pretty much guaranteed if you bail out in the 5th or 10th year, you're going to make a ton of money.
There's
once you're evaluation.
Yeah, I mean
it's there.
It's done.
It's there, but they don't seem to borrow against future value.
No, and the real crime that's out there,
or spend it based on future value.
What I think is criminal is when you hold a town or a city hostage to build the stadium.
Yeah,
that is crap.
Yeah. Did you feel it kind of happened with PNC Park?
PNC, I'm going to give my buddy John Steigerwald all the credit in the world. People don't realize that he kind of saved baseball and a lot of things, and certainly the Penguins, to keep them here. Because at that point, remember when the Kansas City thing was happening, maybe even Hamilton, Ontario was happening with the old BlackBerry guy? There was also going to be a casino awarded in this town.
I remember that.
So John Steigerwald, who was a very forward-thinking guy, he's a little bit narrow-minded in a lot of things. He and I, politically are pretty diametrically opposed in a lot of ways, but he's a smart guy. He said, here's what you do. Whoever gets awarded the license for the casino, they pay for the arena. Bam. Done.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Because they're going to print money over there.
No question.
Now that they have the sports book over there, they're printing money.
I can't imagine.
I can't
even imagine right now.
I just stay out of there.
Me too.
I just stay
that's why
out
I don't
of there.
go in there.
I am a reformed gambler, and I'm never going to go there again because I owed a lot more money than I had at one point in my life, and I will never, ever do that again because I thought I was smarter, and I had inside information. I had people I could call and find out about injuries, find out about trends, find out about all sorts of things, and that didn't help me.
Do you think, let's talk in a broader sense, do you think now that sports gambling is legal, do you think that is putting a dent in, Uncle Charlie down the street here, the bookmaker?
No, heck yeah.
Do you think it is?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
not putting them out of business.
No.
Because they've had, we're slow. I mean, there's things happen in this country that we're not going to see here for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just...
Look at fashion, trends.
We're in no hurry.
Yeah.
And I love it. I mean, we're not. We'll catch up.
Yeah.
So the people that have always gambled with Sonny down the street or whomever, they'll continue to do that. The majority of people at the casino are probably the real recreational gambler.
Probably.
The hardcore guys are with their guy.
Okay.
They want a paper bag full of money at the end of the week. I mean, they want cash.
But it was brilliant to finally. I mean, we're in a Quaker state, so obviously things are slow, just for the whole state. I mean, Philadelphia tends to be more progressive than we are in some areas.
Being idiots.
Yeah, kind of, especially sports fans.
Yeah.
No question about. Sorry,
I'm not sorry.
Well, you've had to cover
Not
those games.
sorry.
You've been in those arenas, right?
Not sorry.
But overall, I think it was finally wise to do it because it's such a windfall.
Oh my God!
It's an unbelievable windfall, and
Wait till you see what marijuana does.
yeah.
Go on a little bit of a rant. That thing that really I think is so sad because
you're here, pal.
We have so many opioid issues and heroin overdoses.
Yeah.
I blame the drug lobbies, and think about it. You'd sell a pound of weed 20 years ago. You're doing 20 years in jail. You're getting 10 years for manslaughter. I mean, they were calling it a gateway drug, and it's
disproportionate.
Disproportionate. It's the opioids that take you to heroin. Marijuana. I mean, who gets high and beats their wife? Nobody.
Yeah. Good
Who
point.
gets drunk and beats their wife? Tens of thousands of people every day, unfortunately.
That's right.
So, but the government was making money on alcohol and still does. And it wasn't until they figured out a way to make money on marijuana that the truth came out about it. I mean, you see someone with Parkinson's. You see all these unbelievable. You see people with shakes.
The health benefits of it.
And all of a sudden, it just goes away.
Yeah.
And we were, older people with glaucoma and things like that. We were keeping that away from people, even though we knew it would help them.
On a ridiculous premise.
And we were getting people addicted to Darvocet,
to legal drugs.
Oxycontin and all that. It's criminal. And the country, the government is to blame for that.
There's no question.
That's just awful. Those are the kind of things that get me a little upset.
Well, the opioid is such a crisis now that I don't know how we turn that around. I mean, leaving sports and going into a social conversation, that one is, how that changes? You put some fucking pharmaceutical people in jail.
Yeah,
that's how it changes.
Absolutely.
That's.
And
always said
the doctors writing the scripts.
Yeah,
they got to stop.
So we go into this conversation. I lost my younger brother to opiates in '96. Now think about this for a second.
96.
Before the actual crisis.
That's way before the crisis.
So that's
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Well, thank
that's
you.
Awful.
But I wanted to make you aware of that in our audience too, for those who don't know my background. Because when I entered this conversation, I'm passionate about it because it hit home. He was prescribed he played football, and he was prescribed drugs haphazardly by multiple doctors for a shoulder injury. And that led to another, and he dabbled with trying to continue to numb himself for 5-6 years, and it ultimately took him. And my argument is that even in the 90s, people knew it was a problem.
Right.
It was just prescribing pills haphazardly. It was happening then.
Money.
Of course it was. It was
all money.
It was pharmaceutical reps being trained to go in there and buy doctors with golf clubs and trips and all this stuff. So I'm hoping in that aspect maybe there's some reform in the industry, but there doesn't seem to...
Well, the laws, they did. I'm not sure if it's a reaction to the opioid epidemic, but my ex-wife's pharmaceutical rep has been for 30 years.
Sure.
And, back in the day, I mean, it wasn't a bad deal for me. I would go take the doctors. She didn't want to golf, so I took them to play golf. All these great meals at these great resorts and great. Yeah. I mean, it was a nice life. Trips.
I bet.
They would incentivize her with trips to Hawaii, trips. I mean, we traveled the country. We went all over the place.
Right.
But then spouses were no longer able. Golf is no longer something you can write on. I mean, they really cracked down on the industry. I mean, they targeted the industry. The government did. So they're not where
almost a bribe.
They're not where they need. Oh,
a bribe to
buy
to
rights. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it's sales.
It's sales. And
it's sales.
It is, and I guess a salesperson's going to do what they're legally permitted to do.
Correct.
I get that, but at the same time, the overall damage to society has been broad and vast, and I think that and hopefully, it's hard for me to I travel a lot in my work locally, so I'm in all kinds of neighborhoods, and I see a lot of horrific things in neighborhoods that were safe for me as a kid to go around in. Not safe anymore for those reasons, because of what you're seeing, and it extends obviously to heroin and the rest of it. It's very
where
people just try and numb themselves.
That's where people don't come back.
Yeah,
that's all.
And that's but anyways, back to the 70s for a second. So
the psychedelic 70s.
Yeah, especially the early ones too. Well, there were some psychedelic folks on the Pirates that I'm aware of. I didn't know the history of some of the Steeler players, but the
Steeler. I mean, that's another great topic. Is when people got just so incensed with steroids in baseball. I would always, when I had my show back on the KDKA days, I would say, "So you want to get back the 4 Super Bowls? What do you mean? I go, the Steelers absolutely championed and led the charge. I got to be pretty close with Steve Corson. God bless him. Got killed saving his dog. You want to talk about a medical
artificial heart, right?
Medical.
Or heart replacement,
how about this? A medical miracle through diet and exercise. He needed a heart transplant. He was given a very short time to live.
Oh, so he never got one?
And
Wow.
He simply through diet and exercise cured his own heart. Wow. Amazing. Wow. The guy with 22-inch biceps. And he was the only one. In fact, he was kind of banned by his fellow Steelers because he came clean. He was like the Jose Canseco of football.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, we all did it. I mean, I love some of the guys, Mike Webster, God bless him.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were certainly pharmaceutically enhanced.
No question.
Make no mistake about it. I mean, and now we don't know. They still don't really test for human growth hormone. I mean, you see guys, and again, I'm not. I want to be very careful here because these are really great people. But Alan Faneca and Jeff Hardings, two guys that I know and love. I mean, they now weigh 200 pounds. They played at 300. Now, granted, diet and exercise can change a lot.
Pounds.
It's 100 pounds each. I mean, Alan Faneca's he's running marathons.
I didn't recognize him. I saw him on TV. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
But, I mean, Tiger. I mean, his Canadian doctor had a duffel bag of HGH, trying to bring it in from Canada to the U.S. I think he's Sly Stallone's guy, too. Look at Sly. See the most recent Rocky movie? Oh, yeah. I mean, he's still jacked.
So, go back to the 80s Bash Brothers, McGuire, Canseco, and then obviously, people knew.
They absolutely
The fan knew in the 80s, the fan knew.
I forget which number
we
McGuire...
didn't care, though.
No, of course not.
We didn't care.
I don't know which number was McGuire hit here. It was a big number. It was a record-breaking number.
Yeah.
It wasn't the number, but
when
it was
the
number.
Cardinals.
I interviewed him in the Cardinal locker room, and he had that great big bottle of creatine right behind him.
Wow.
It wasn't banned.
None
of that stuff was banned. And the thing that I used to go crazy, and people are like, oh, the hitters. I'm like going, who would benefit more from steroids than a pitcher? Roger Clemens went from 92 miles an hour to 95 miles an hour. How do you think that happened? He was injecting his wife in the butt with steroids.
It's crazy.
I mean, it was rampant.
It's crazy.
But it's the gladiator mentality. Like, they're putting their lives at risk to entertain us.
What's your thoughts on Bonds?
Greatest player, pound for pound, maybe to ever play the game. Toughest out. Best eye. Led the league in walks almost every single year and home runs. Think about that. Not strikeouts, walks and home runs. Most home run hitters lead in strikeouts and home runs, not walks. Defensively, certainly could cover the ground. The arm was suspect. But the thing I liked about Barry, I'm going to get in a little trouble here, but I had a much better relationship with Barry Bonds than I did with Andy Van Slyke. Andy was about as fake as it ever could have been. When that camera was on, he was all smiles, jokes. He was the kind of guy that would turn around. He wasn't signing autographs for kids. He wasn't going that extra mile for anybody. Andy was all about Andy. Great player, tremendous player. But he was fake. Barry was an idiot. I mean, a legitimate jerk. But you know what? He made no bones about it. See, to me, he's real.
I get it.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I don't really like jerks. I don't really like him. But he was at least okay with who he was.
Was he always a jerk? Case in point. The reason I say that is I ran into him when he first came up, and I was living at an apartment complex in Robinson Township. I don't know if Barry was living there. He was visiting someone there. There was a racquetball court. The nicest guy. He drove a... there was an article in Pittsburgh Magazine about him. He used to swing a sledgehammer. That was like his stick initially.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think he drove his father's old Porsche 928 from the 70s. There was a hokiness about it, and he was so nice, genuinely nice when he first got here.
No one ever accused him of that.
Well, so
they voted him at Arizona State when they won the championship, and he had left a little bit earlier. So I don't know how it worked out.
Yeah.
They had a team vote whether he should get a ring or not, and they said no. Didn't even know bones about it. No.
Yeah, see, so his limited interaction with me at that time set me on a course, and being a baseball fan and watching and just knowing in the mid-'80s something good was going to happen. You felt it. Sid Thrift was just that bunkin' doing his thing, and the Penn trade for Van Slyke and LaValliere was done in there too?
And done.
It just made sense. You could see something built, and then Bonilla comes over from the White Sox. It was just gelling, and Leland was awesome. So the point was,
the best.
It got me re-enthused in baseball.
Oh yeah,
it did.
Oh, absolutely.
It was a great time to be alive as a kid in his 20s. It was a great time to be alive.
It was ridiculous.
And I loved Barry because that's all I knew of Barry was just how great he was to me. Now a couple of years later, it kind of the attitude started. I didn't feel that early on though. Was it always there? The prima donna stuff was always there.
Always there.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he did like the spotlight.
And then his head, grew like 6 sizes. He went from like
when he left here though,
like
right?
He was starting to get a little bigger here.
Was he?
Went from like $170 to like $230. The cream or the clear. I'm not sure which he used, but he never tested positive.
He never tested positive. And he never admitted guilt in court, right?
Never.
So
never ever.
Being that is what it is, that he was never found guilty and never admitted and never tested positive, is the speculation so valid that they can keep him out of the Hall of Fame, that he can be scorned? Because guess what? I would be using, hey, you know what? What are you upset with me for?
Right.
I hit tons of home runs.
1 billion home runs.
Right. And I
he never got in trouble off the field.
That's what I mean. So so is it really the personality so abrasive? Is that what's doing it?
Well, it's just the whole steroid thing. With Sosa and McGuire, those guys aren't going to get in anytime soon. I don't know if Clemens will get in. I mean, they have to look at it as an era because everybody was doing it. So the numbers don't lie. I mean, they just don't. They were competing. The pitchers, that's the part that no one ever seems to get. The pitchers all of a sudden are throwing 95, 97. And if anyone has a muscle that needs to recover and recuperate, that right arm or left arm is your entire craft. Your entire life is based on that. You're going to do whatever it takes to get it to where it needs to be.
Correct.
So, that's...
So how many pitchers got away with it? A lot of pitchers got away with it.
Yeah. I would say countless.
Yeah, I think a lot of pitchers got away with it.
Heck yeah.
So take me back even before Bonds. Take me back to the late 70s Pirates. They were heroes to me as a kid.
Yeah, we were family.
Yeah. So,
oh my gosh.
But what happened from like 80 to 84-ish in this town was pretty horrific for a young kid watching it and never really hearing the whole story outside of the parrot selling cocaine or whatever the goofy stuff you'd hear. But Dave Parker was like my hero.
The best.
And I had a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that he might be a cocaine user. I had a hard time with that.
Well, that was just the thing we have to realize is they are part of society. I mean, at that time in the 80s, everybody was doing cocaine.
Especially early 80s, yeah.
So guess who had more disposable income than most people? To feel really good and be able to party all night and to be be dynamite in the bedroom. Who's not going to jump on that? These are young, virile men.
Right.
And if that's going to have them, enhance their fun, I mean, come on, they're not choir boys.
Yeah.
They're not role models. I'm a Charles Barkley fan of that. If you're not keeping it together at home and explaining to your kids the way it should be,
right,
and you're allowing them to idolize these athletes and mimic them and imitate them, you got to pull them aside and say, listen, this isn't what it's all about.
Well, there's a huge element of entertainment now in modern day sports, more than probably was in those eras.
And scrutiny.
And scrutiny.
Social media.
There's so much news now.
Oh my gosh.
If whatever
everybody has a camera
is.
with them 24/7.
Yeah, back to your point, everybody's an expert. Yeah. Every fan now is a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator, head coach, and an umpire.
we're about the same age. So imagine, just my life at Penn State. If that was on video, that wouldn't be good.
Hey, I don't want I'm very glad.
That would not be good.
I'm glad the smartphone was not around in the 70s or the 80s.
And so are all the Steelers of the 70s.
Yeah, so's
Bubby
boys.
Brister and everybody else that were out having some fun, and Merrill Hodge, and I have these discussions with these guys. Oh my God,
Yager! I witnessed some stuff in the early '90s that was like horrifying to me. Like 2 a.m, I think at a bar. There was a bar in Pittsburgh called Froggies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Tom Barrasso.
Oh, yeah, I never was around him, but I heard some. Yeah, I heard some stuff. They lived their life. They had a good time. They partied hard, and you know what? They worked and played hard for us. Let them have their life. That's my whole thing.
His rookie year. This is my favorite thing. He's 18. Everyone's talking about he's 18. He's 18. Jaromir Jagr's 18. He could drink in every bar in Pittsburgh. Everyone served him. Who was going to deny him? Everyone served him.
Yeah. Yeah, he.
It's a different time.
It was a different. It definitely was. It definitely was a different time. But there wasn't like now. If an athlete stumbles out of a bar drunk, there's 5 people with their phone cameras like this.
I'm looking even like
they can't do that.
I'm not a huge Joey Porter fan, but that little skirmish he got. Our offensive coordinator buddy Todd. Todd Haley got into some. People are out. That camera comes right out.
Yeah, and that really. I don't like to use the word fair anything in life because life is not fair.
It's not.
But it's unfortunate that because of a position someone takes, that the public can scrutinize them.
Right.
I'm okay with scrutinizing people more based upon a position, but invading someone's personal life in a restaurant or with their family, there's got to be some kind of decorum there, a decency, and it's not there.
It's not there.
I mean, I can't imagine what some of these. When I dealt with the musicians years ago, they hated it. They hated going anywhere public, even a Starbucks.
Correct.
They hated it. And for athletes, it has to be the same thing.
And these poor athletes, imagine, they're out publicly, they'll stop and they'll sign a bunch of autographs, and then finally they reach a point where they have somewhere they need to be, and there will be a no. And forever that person, and that's who calls the talk shows. Well, my son was a Giant Eagle, and he turned around and said no. Well, you know what? He has a life. I mean, stop it.
Yeah, I know. But
and these people have bad days too. They have lives. They're human beings that have bad days. Yeah. And if you catch them on that bad day, you're going to hold that against them forever.
I think that happens a lot, though. I think
sure
sometimes the whole. And again, when you have a talk show and you're calling in there, that's now you have you're broadcasting 50,000 watts. I mean, it's that one experience, and people hear that and they go, that Pete Rose is a jerk, or that Johnny. Johnny Bench was supposed to be the biggest jerk of my young era as a player versus the fan. He wasn't great with fans, people said. Yeah. I had the greatest experience with the guy in the world. So my experience wasn't congruent with what was being said.
Right.
And I think it's always that way. It depends on the day of the week. It depends. Look at me and Barry Bonds.
Right. You had a great experience with Barry Bonds. You're the one guy.
I'm the one guy in Pittsburgh.
There is not. I mean, honestly, if you would find, you could not get a dozen of those stories.
That's crazy.
You couldn't.
Wow.
Even this is what I always judge the athletes on.
That's
I always get to know, and it's the most important thing if you ever want information, and it's not really that, it's not a revelation. You get to know the secretaries, you get to know the equipment people,
Sure.
You get to know the managers.
Sure.
And I would always ask, especially like I got to know the Pirate Road, he would take care of the road team as the equipment manager.
Sure.
I'm like, all right, what's this guy like?
They really know.
And he would come over, and I'm like, I am not going to out you. I'm not going to say, I just want to know. This is my own curiosity. Is this guy fake or is he for real? Best guy ever. This guy tipped me like that. That's how you find out.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, God bless, Ben for the way he's played, and he's a, first round, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He still doesn't tip people.
Wow.
He still doesn't treat people well.
Wow.
But what?
Yeah. See, I
don't get that.
That was always the thing you heard because people without him saying, a big walk in someplace and there'd be a big meal at the end and like nothing.
Wouldn't even pay for the meal, let alone the tip.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Just walks.
I've heard that too. Yeah, I've heard some golfing stories about being a country club and events and things.
Wow. It's unfortunate.
Is it an entitlement thing with some athletes? You think?
I just think it's really everything comes from how you feel about you. And that's how you treat other people. I just think he had it rough. I mean, he didn't play quarterback until his senior year. The coach's son in high school played quarterback.
Right.
Not because he was any good, but because he was a coach's son. And I think there's been that chip there forever.
Okay.
And it's really been kind of awkward. I mean,
especially
I love him as a player. I absolutely love him as a player, and we've always been cordial.
Right.
But I came after him pretty hard for Milledgeville, regardless. I mean, the district attorney was despicable, and the way he handled it was, that guy didn't get reelected, and that guy should be in jail for the way he basically slandered Ben. I mean, that was when you have that, when no charges are filed, you do not have a press conference and tell everybody what happened. You don't do it. No charges are filed.
Right.
But to put yourself in that situation, just not good.
No,
and then it comes
judgment.
on top of the Tahoe thing. It's just, come on. You keep getting yourself into these circumstances. Is it them falsely accusing, or is it you putting yourself in a bad situation?
It's amazing how his reputation's been rehabilitated in this town. And probably kudos to him.
Wife and kids, and I think he's a much better person now.
There's no question.
He's a much better person
there's
now.
no question. I would agree with that.
He is.
I would agree with that. From, again, an outsider's look in.
Right.
I just, as a fan, that's my impression. And he's playing in a city where I think Pittsburgh's a forgiving city.
Oh, yeah.
And some,
if
some
anybody
cities
comes
aren't.
clean,
I mean,
we'll forgive anybody.
I
We
know.
really will.
Which is a little
it's kind of crazy.
It
but
is crazy.
If you're contrite and you come clean and you admit you're wrong, I recommend it to everybody because guess what? We're all flawed.
Absolutely.
We're all going to make mistakes.
No doubt. No
and I think
doubt.
deep down, everybody has to know that.
Yeah.
You're going to screw up.
Yeah.
If you're living in your life, you're going to screw up.
One, I don't know who it was. One journalist told me a long time ago that they thought Barry could have owned Pittsburgh. Barry Bonds, with a different disposition and embracing the fans, could have owned Pittsburgh.
Look I always tease. I did the Jerome Bettis show for 5 years. It was a blast.
Yeah.
And I was just
My uncle played in that band down there, by the way.
wow.
Gary Blum and the Blues Bombers was the house band, I think, for that show for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good time.
That was so much fun.
Good time.
But I would always kid him and just say, by being a decent human being, you're beloved and considered to be the world's greatest guy.
Yeah.
Just by being a decent guy.
Yeah.
You're no better than decent, but everyone thinks you're the greatest ever, which isn't true. He is a great guy.
Yeah, I don't.
But the bar is so low in terms of conduct and how you treat people and how you act that by being a decent human being and a really good player, you can own any town. If you're a good player, and look at like a guy like Cal Ripken and Peyton Manning and some of these guys, just by going a little extra.
Mike Trout.
Yeah, oh my God. You know, J.J. Watt. I mean, come on. And sadly, in the news business, there's guys doing great things every day, charitable, wonderful things.
But they don't crave the cameras on,
Well,
right?
they don't move the needle. If it's not salacious or you haven't done something horrific, I mean, if it bleeds, it leads. I mean, it's all of that is true. I mean, Chicago,
even in sports,
great story. Yeah, great story. Chicago, the CBS out there was just a perennial dead last horrible station. So they decided to do long form, what everyone thought that people should get, long form stories about people doing good things.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing, except for no one watched. No one watched.
I'll take you back. Ted Turner, when he first started TNT or TBS, go back to the early 80s when cable was starting to proliferate.
Yeah.
There was a show called The Good News. It was a half an hour long out of Atlanta. And it was supposed to be all good news for the gone one season.
Oh, it's not going to last.
No one wants to see the good news.
You know,
he jokes about that.
People tell you that, how do McDonald's stay in business when you ask them I never eat there.
It's amazing.
Everyone says they never eat there. Well, guess what? Everybody eats there.
Everybody eats there.
I never eat there. I don't watch the news anymore. It's too negative. It's too nasty.
Everybody watches it.
It's like saying you don't watch when you're going by a car accident.
Exactly right.
Of course you're gonna look.
Everybody despises that TMZ website. Oh, that's just salacious trash. Why is it in business? Why does it cost so much to advertise on that on that website? It's
now
insane.
that they got into the sports side of things, they're breaking all those
Is there
stories.
TMZ Sports? Is that what that is now? Because I thought I saw that.
They break all the bad stuff in sports now.
That's just incredible.
They're everywhere.
But there is so much bad stuff in sports, and let's go there for a little bit. This is what I think is. And obviously, we can point right to social media, the instant news. I take a video here; it's on some website in 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
But
look at Ray Rice. Look at
Tariq
Hill.
Hill. Some bad stuff done by some not nice people in the NFL. And why is it? Is there more? Obviously, there's a greater collection of players there than Major League Baseball and hockey, right? There's more players, so there's a numbers game there. But there seems to be a lot of horrific things done by NFL players. At least, look, you're in the industry, so you probably know the numbers better than me. But as a fan, my optics are that there's a lot of NFL players doing some pretty horrific things, and we kind of give them a pass. Some of them get a pass.
Well, certainly the domestic violence thing right now, thankfully, no more passes. You're gonna Ray Rice didn't play another down of football. Mm-hmm. But here is the caveat. You have to get caught on tape now. If they don't have you on tape and it's a he said, she said, you're going to get a pass, which is awful.
It is awful.
It is a he said, she said. It's really unfortunate. It happens, I think, probably 8th and 9th grade. Once the guys that make it to the NFL, usually in 8th or 9th grade, they're so freaking special. Athletically, it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, They don't have to show up for the tests. They don't have to. I mean, it's just they're coddled. I mean, they think that they're entitled because we entitle them. And you see grown-ass men fawn all over athletes. Mm-hmm. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, it really is. Yeah. I mean, it's embarrassing how we treat these athletes. And then they'll be, well, I can't believe they get paid this much. Well, what do you mean you can't? Mm-hmm. I mean, they are so elite. And I get a kick out of, the worst player on any baseball team when you hear fans go, he sucks.
It's a joke. It's the biggest joke there is.
He sucks?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Did you play sports growing up?
Right.
This guy was so much better than you ever dreamed of being. Uh-huh. And so maybe he can't turn around a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, so all of a sudden, according to you, he sucks.
Yeah.
No, you need to wake up.
That's the myopic viewpoint of most fans, and especially in baseball, especially because everything is so analyzed, such a numbers game,
we
statistic
analyze
game.
Everything to death now.
I mean, I was not a Sean Rodriguez fan. As a person, I was, but I wasn't. Even when they came back the second round, I thought it was more of the Pirates were doing him a solid.
They were. After the car accident, I think they were.
Mm-hmm. But
they were hopeful that maybe there was something there because...
Right. But I used to say to my friends who were really just rip this guy, I say, listen, the bottom line is he, in his sphere, when he grew up and where he was playing, was better than everybody.
By leaps
no
and
one
bounds.
could touch him. So every player that barely makes it into the major leagues and stays a year, a game, 5 years, it's still a monumental accomplishment, right?
I think I was a freshman. I don't know. I'm going to give a buddy of mine, a fellow realtor by the name of John Pavlik, was one of our best athletes at Churchill High School. And they had a home game, and I was still pretty young. But it's so funny that I'm thinking about how I acted. There were a bunch of scouts there. So instead of just leaving them alone, I just went, who are you here to see? I wasn't doing it for anybody other than myself. I'm asking this guy. This guy was so nice. I think he was from the Orioles.
That's great.
And I just started grilling him.
That's great.
And I mean, this guy, Pav. I mean, he could throw. Yeah. I mean, left-handed bat. I mean, this guy was, to me, can't miss. I mean, this guy's going to be a superstar. Mm-hmm. And I said, what about his arm? He goes, it's average. I went, what? I mean, I could always throw. That's one thing I could always do. I wasn't the fastest guy, quickest guy, couldn't really jump, but I could throw. Not like him. And to hear that his arm was average. Now, he made it to AAA with the Orioles. So, I mean, he obviously was very, very good and a great athlete.
Absolutely.
But he didn't make it to the show. He didn't make it.
It's amazing.
And I've always, and then covering all the high school sports that I did when I worked at Altoona, we did a half-hour show every Friday night doing high school football, which was one of my favorite things to do. And, I always get it from parents, you didn't give my kid enough, or you don't understand how good this kid is. I go, I don't understand how good your kid is. For real? If you heard of Dan Marino, yeah, I played against him in high school. Heard of Bill Fralick? He pancaked me on several occasions in high school.
Right.
Tommy Flynn played 8, 9. Right. I mean, I played against Sam Clancy, played against all these guys growing up.
Right.
I do know how good somebody is.
Yeah.
I do know that your kid isn't. Or sometimes your kid might be.
They would say that to you, though.
Oh, yeah. You don't understand. It's like my kids now. They tell me how much I don't understand.
I get that too.
How old are you?
I get that
and I don't understand. It blows your mind. When we go, okay. Did you get smarter every year? They're like, well, I certainly hope so. I go, well, I certainly hope that I have too. And I have a whole lot of life experiences to go along with that.
Yeah, they don't grasp that, though.
So why do you just disrespect that completely?
Yeah, life experience is it's everything. Experience is everything.
It is.
But back to the point about how good they are. I always said this. Major League Baseball could do themselves a huge positive service if they would take the top AAA teams and put on a show. Now, I think the Louisville Cardinals do things like there are teams that do that. But if the average baseball fan got a chance to see AAA ball, they'd realize how good these players are.
Right.
I don't mean AA or single A, which they're pretty good there too.
Well, actually, AA.
Yeah, what is it with AA now? What is that
That's when they're pure.
And they're pulling them sometimes straight from AA ball now. Why is that happening?
AAA, well, and this was explained to me because same kind of curiosity, and I love getting to know a lot of the coaches and the guys. They're like, AAA are the guys that are like haven't quite had the ability to make it, but if we have a guy go down, we could use them. So they at least have some experience.
They're
And
backups.
they're probably, they're like perennial backups but AA, those are your stars in the making, that they're raw. But they're not, you can't trust them on a major league field yet.
Got it.
They're young and they're raw. They haven't really been, Now I think, the Pirates, of course, their rookies are 25 and 26 years old. They're not 20 and 21. I mean, they're just, and again, that's control and that's that's all economics. But AA sometimes is the most talent.
Interesting.
It really is. AAA are guys that they can bring up if
It's
there's
the shuttle
if there's a
back and
rash
forth.
if there's a rash of injuries. Say we lose 2 outfielders. Well, how about the guys that came up this year, though? I mean, in Reynolds, who knew about Reynolds? I don't think anybody knew. Come on, no one.
That's the find of the year.
No
there.
one's telling me that they had this guy projected to be hitting 350 with power, right out of the gate as a rookie. No one told me that.
Is that proof that they really, really just don't quite know for sure? They have a good feeling, but they're not really.
Well, think about. I'll take you back to Chad Hermanson.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'll take you back to Chad Hermanson. 2 straight years in the Pacific Coast League, which is back then, the Pirates AAA.
Yep.
2 30-plus home run seasons. So without ever coming up, not even a cup of coffee, they anoint him the starting right fielder in like 94, 95, whenever it was. I remember I was at spring training that year, and I'm like, he was excited. Everyone was excited. This guy hit 30 bombs 2 years in a row in AAA. He's a quad A player.
Yeah. That is a
He's
phrase.
a quad A
That's
player.
a phrase that's used a lot. Now, explain to the fan out there who I've only heard that a couple of times recently. What does that mean? He's a quad A player.
Dominant at AAA.
Okay.
I mean, nothing left to prove at that level. He is champion. That's really how you want the progress to be. There's high A, and then you go to AA. And what you need to do is within maybe 6 weeks, show that you're a little better than everyone else at that particular juncture, and then they move you up.
Okay.
Now, granted, there's positional situations where maybe you're blocked or there's someone in the wrong space, or they're going to move you somewhere. But you need to be dominant at every level. And then once that happens, depending on what the major league roster looks like, then you get your shot.
Okay.
But there's some guys that they just don't quite have it to me. Whether the stage is too big, the lights are too bright. They talk about there's that extra tier of seats. AAA, there's only 2 tiers. Major leagues, there's another tier.
You think there's something to that?
Oh, there's a lot. It's all
visuals,
psychological. When you think about it. I mean, it's all these guys. If you made it to AAA, you have the tools. There's no one in AAA or even in AA that don't have major league talent.
Okay.
But then it becomes psychological.
You hear a lot of hitters say that step from AAA to pretty much any major league starter, there's just that little bit of extra. It's just harder to hit.
Oh my God, I don't know how anyone hits major league pitching.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's
scary.
Of all the things we talk a lot about, I mean, I could do, like I always say, if I dabbled with being, an actor for a while, maybe some theater. And
right.
I always thought that at least if I were going to be in a movie playing an athlete, they wouldn't question. Like I could make everything look real and legitimate.
Yeah.
Remember One-on-One? What was that actor's name? I mean, he was kind of a joke. And John Goodman as the Babe was just awful. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that was bad.
Greatest
That was bad.
You know, even the kid in Caddyshack got a horrible golf swing. I mean, he's not going to win that caddy tournament. I mean, come on, you got to be better than that.
Yeah.
But of all the things that we do, and we all dabble in sports, I mean, most people do. The one thing, and I just was lucky enough to play golf the other day, and no one hits a golf ball like a pro.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
You don't. The club champion at all these great courses around here, and I've covered a lot of PGA Tour events, U.S. Opens, and things like that, and I could just stand at the range all day and watch them hit the ball.
I bet.
Because it's just different.
Yeah.
I mean, I get down to a 4 handicap. I can play a little bit.
Right.
But I can't hit it like that.
It's almost magic.
I can shoot a basketball like anybody, like Steph. I can shoot it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't make it like he did, but I can. It all looks the same, feels the same. And the other thing is, I can't throw a ball 98 or 95 or 90 or 80 miles an hour.
Right. With control. Control.
I just remember watching Charlie Morton when he was here, and I got to be close with Ray Searage, who I just adore. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Right.
He said if he ever figures it out here, and he's pointing to his head, if he ever figures it out here, he'll be one of the best in the game. But I don't know if we can get him there. His ball moves in ways that I've never seen a ball move before. And now, in working
amazing.
with Michael McKenna, they do the sequencing. If you can make every pitch look the same from the top, meaning right before the release, your slider, your curveball, and your fastball all look the same, you're almost impossible to hit.
You're not giving it away.
You're almost impossible to hit. But if they see the arm slot change, like hitter, I mean, with all this videotape now.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you break down every pitcher's, like, when he touches his nose, he's throwing the curveball. I mean, I used to love breaking down film, and I mean, it was filmed back in the day in high school.
I know.
And you would watch. I knew like when guards were going to pull because they would do a little something.
There's tells.
They would do a little movement before the snap, and like I would love. I'm like, I wasn't that good of an athlete, but I was smart.
Got it.
And I was always in the right place at the right time.
Right.
And people were like, how did you know that was going to happen? How did you know that? Like Troy Polamalu, he combined that ability with ridiculous athletic ability and a ridiculous burst.
Was he one of the smartest players you ever around?
Yeah.
I bet.
Dick LeBeau just said,
I bet.
Whatever. I mean, and if we're doing it. You know what? I'm getting old, and I forget names. Who's the plum punter that does the outstanding podcast? Punted for. He's a McAfee, Pat McAfee.
Oh, yeah.
You have to look this up.
Okay.
And anyone that's listening or watching has to look this up. He is going. I think he was the holder for PATs, it was for field goals.
Okay.
So. And he was, I believe, with Indy. Yeah, I think he got arrested for he was floating down the river naked in Indy, drunk off his butt. He's my kind of guy. I mean, I love me some Pat McAfee.
That is great. That is
great. So he does his podcast, and it's all video and everything. And it's just fantastic.
I've caught a few.
And he's talking about how he's going to score a touchdown in his hometown by faking a field goal. But Troy Polamalu is in the six gap. He's never been in the six gap. They've looked at film everywhere, and he just goes on. It's like 5-6 minutes of building it up. Why is he in the why is he in the six gap? He's never been in the six gap. Why is he even in there on this field goal? Why is he even on the field?
Because he knew.
That son of a bitch is ruining. He's ruining my life. I hate you, Troy Polamalu. I hate you. He goes, so you know what I do? I do what I had to do. I checked out of it, and we kicked the field goal. It's one of the funniest. I mean, you're laughing out loud watching this thing. But yeah, Troy was so instinctive that Dick LeBeau, who was, he invented the zone blitz.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
He invented it.
Yeah, think about that.
I remember I did a magazine. I did a magazine article on Dick LeBeau. One of my favorite things I ever got to do. I think it was Old Pittsburgh Magazine. I think they're still. I don't know. They're still around.
Yeah, they're
around. Still around.
Yeah, they're around.
Can you actually hold something and read it still?
You can. I think
other than your phone.
I think there's a Best of the Berg that comes out once a year. Everybody pays attention to that, and then for the rest of the year, no one pays attention to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we did a bunch of. I did a Dick LeBeau, a Marc-Andre Fleury. I love writing. Cool. I mean, I wanted to be a sports writer growing up. I really did. That was my whole deal.
Okay.
I wrote for the student paper at Penn State. It was a dream. I mean, it was so much fun. But Dick LeBeau goes, his favorite thing to do is to go to high school games and see zone blitzes. He goes, I invented that.
Oh yeah.
I invented that. And then another one of my favorite moments. I'm covering a Steeler game, and back to my right is Bobby Knight.
Okay.
So he and Dick LeBeau are best friends. That's why Bobby's there.
All right.
So I'm doing this article, and I have like 2 more weeks until my deadline. I got to get Bobby Knight. And he's, immediately his hands are up, don't even. And I said, well, now there's a fly fisherman from State College.
Okay.
Mr. Humphreys.
Okay.
Who is legendary. They just did a documentary on his life.
All right.
Amazing.
All right.
So I said, do you remember who got you on a stream with Joe Humphreys? He looked at me and he goes, that was you? And I go, that was me.
Nice.
When I heard him talking about how his love, he goes, anywhere between, New York and State College is a camping trip. He goes, thank God I like to fly fish because there's some beautiful streams and whatever. And he went on, and I go, I can hook you up, Coach. Nice. We have the best fly fisherman in the world right here in Joe Humphreys. Okay. Could you get me? I said, yes, I can do that.
That worked.
Joe was a good friend. So, yeah, he's fished with all the presidents. I mean, this guy's, just another whole story. But he was the coolest guy, is the coolest guy. Going strong at 86.
Incredible.
Doing like a tour with his movie.
Incredible.
It's
incredible.
The they had it, the little theater in Oakmont. They just did one like a month ago, and I went out, and it was just so good to see him. But anyway, he goes, okay, got it. And he just said, Dickie, they won a national championship in basketball at Ohio State when Bobby Knight played there. Huh. He said he could have been our sixth man. Don't think he could have started, but he could have been our sixth man. And Dick LeBeau, in the summers,
That's something.
he was a stunt double in Hollywood.
Oh, I know that.
He was the best-looking guy that ever
yeah,
lived.
that I get.
Best-looking man maybe that ever lived. And the nicest man that ever lived.
I'll tell you what, for his age, he got a hell of a set of hair. I'll tell you
my
that.
God.
I'm like, that guy looks like 20 years younger than who he is.
Just Google Dick LeBeau, young Dick LeBeau. Plus, he had 62 career interceptions, and they wouldn't let the guy in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Because Night Train Lane was a star DB at Detroit when he was there.
Okay.
And he was an even bigger star than Dick.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it wasn't until he got famous for all the other stuff he did as a coach. But
Wow.
prince of a human being right there. Like one of the all-time greatest people I've ever met.
Are you... I didn't want to go there because this is really about you, but I want to ask your opinion about the last couple years about the Steelers. The criticism of Tomlin, the style, the fan criticism, the style of operation, hands off, players having a lot of leeway. Mm-hmm. Is it bunk? Is there a little validity to it? Do you think there is a problem that needs corrected for this team to get to where its potential? Because I listened to a podcast you were on last fall. You were very prophetic. The season that us not started, it was the TNT podcast. This is a TNT Hall of Famer over here. But before the season started, they asked you what needs to happen, in your opinion, Paul, for the Steelers to really get another ring. And you said, if anything is going to derail them this year, in my opinion, it's going to be the drama and the personality issues. And you named the two main culprits right there, and that is exactly, in my opinion, what I think happened to that team.
It is. It's exactly what happened. And there's two ways to look at it now. I don't want to blow my cover, but one of my dear friends is coaching on the Steelers. I won't even name his name. But Mike Tomlin, to his credit, expects his players to be adults.
Yeah.
They're grown-ass men.
What's wrong with that?
Well, what's wrong with it? They're not. So,
not just
to
his
me,
players.
And it's all about, and I hate the fact that it's so prevalent and so obvious, you create a culture. And the Patriots have a culture.
Okay. I can buy that.
And Joe Paterno, who I love dearly, I remember he told me, we used to do Friday nights on the road, just be like a handful of media guys and Joe and George and Fran Fisher. It was like, to die for. I mean, those conversations. But he said, when my best players are the hardest workers with great character, we'll win championships. When they're not, we're going to struggle. So, I look at Sidney Crosby. Mm-hmm. Best player, best character, best work ethic. Mm-hmm. You're a fourth-line guy messing around in practice, and Sid looks at you. The coach doesn't have to do a damn thing.
Yeah.
Do you think if you're messing around at a Patriots practice, if Belichick happened to miss you, but Tom Brady didn't, he gave you a look. Mm-hmm. It's policed. Mm-hmm. Ben's not that guy. I'm not going to take anything away from his playing ability. He's a great quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback. He's not a leader. And what the Steeler fans don't realize, they lost Bettis, they lost Aaron Smith, they lost James Ferrier, they lost all these great character guys.
Polamalu.
Oh yeah, Troy. They all those guys are gone. Cam Hayward should be that guy, maybe is that guy. I'm not in the locker room much anymore. I'm not really around the Steelers much anymore. But it's now the inmates running the asylum. Mm-hmm. And like Ben takes every Wednesday off. Why? Brady doesn't take Wednesdays off.
That's interesting.
I mean, stuff like that. So you have to create a culture.
Okay.
And there has to be winning above all else.
I agree. I agree.
And there has to be a playing for one another. Uh-huh. And obviously none of that was going on. So as the coach, I don't know if you can rein it in. I mean, that's hard to put on. You got a 52-man roster, and you got a bunch of knuckleheads that are all making a lot more money than you are. At least most of them are.
A lot of prima donnas.
It's really hard to control that.
Okay.
It's only controlled when your best players are the best character and the best players and the hardest workers. Ben is, last one in, first one out.
Yeah.
So he's not there at 6 a.m. looking at tape, and he's not there at 9 o'clock at night looking at tape. He's just not that guy.
Well, and that's where, if as a fan and you read about Brady, he's so obsessed about everything, nutrition, sleep. He's the first one there and the last one gone. Right. And that's why in his 40s he's still doing it.
Look at Sid.
Yeah, I get it.
Like Sid struggled with faceoffs one year. Next thing you know, that's all he did. He just worked. He just now wins faceoffs.
Yeah.
His backhand wasn't all that, compared to Yager.
Yeah.
Yager did have the best backhand, but compared to Gino, watch his backhand now.
Wow.
I mean, he'll knock that water bottle out, that sits on the top of the net. You'll see that thing pop out now with his backhand. He works so hard at everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to Michael Jordan. I just think of championships, and I think of there's not one thing that Joe Paterno ever told me that hasn't come true. That hasn't been just
about people.
I hear
and players.
his voice all the time.
Yeah,
I just hear what he said all the time. It's prophetic. It's true. It's just dead on.
Yeah.
He was just that guy. Brilliant man.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant man. And what he did to bring out the best in people and how he coached and how he handled people.
Well, it starts with
wasn't
character,
perfect.
right? It starts with
Everything.
character, right?
Everything.
It does start with character, and I think that's where. And has the money polluted the character aspect in some of these players?
Well, you need to have you have to have a big set to have the ability and the guts. There's only 32 NFL jobs.
Right.
So,
right.
Look at our buddy up in Green Bay.
Yeah.
He tried to take on the quarterback and
lost that one, huh?
You're done. I don't know if Bob will ever get another job in the NFL. So,
Right.
you got to be careful who you cross and how. But when you have a guy, and that's what I loved about. I mean, that's why Joe Paterno could do. He never feared for his job.
Yeah.
He didn't have to.
And Cowher didn't feel for his job, did he?
Yeah.
Did
Bill, I used to laugh at Bill Cowher. Everything. If Tomlin were tough like Cowher.
Oh, those comparisons are ridiculous.
Bullshit.
They are. They're ridiculous.
I mean, Joey Porter got kicked out of the Cleveland game before it started. Do you remember that? Guess whose career was launched that day?
I get
James Harrison.
I get it. Yeah, I know.
If that doesn't happen,
Right.
James Harrison's not running 99 yards against the Cardinals. I mean, none of that happens. Bill Cowher, God bless him, and I got to know Josh real well. Josh Miller's one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
That's who he would yell at.
Wow,
you're yelling at the punter, coach. You're a tough guy. Give me a break. He didn't discipline his star players ever.
All right,
he yelled at the punter.
Let me share something with you. You'll find a kick out of this. You might have even been involved in this story. Late 90s, early, 97, 98. I was the pager guy that pissed off Cowher. I worked for a company called PageNet in Pittsburgh at the time, and my buddy Steve Duchai and I, we had the Steelers. That was our account. It wasn't official, but these Steelers just did business with us. So we'd hang out down by the stadium. We'd wait. We'd get in. Charles Johnson.
What a great guy.
CJ loved him. And Andre Hastings. Even Greg Lloyd treated me great. We would trade paging airtime for free tickets. So we were it was a good deal.
Hey, that's a scam.
Sorry, boss, but that's what we did.
Hey.
It was wonderful. So it was they were all getting them. Every one of them was getting them. And half those guys didn't take the time. They would give us no time to train them. They just grab them. They give us the money, and we were out of there.
Right.
So they're just going off because I don't think they didn't know how to set them, and it was like.
Do you remember pager days? That's just
so
cracking me up.
the crazy part about it was, I guess Bill had grabbed one of the pagers and saw PageNet on there, and just turned it over and called the number for our office, and whoever answered the phone got an earful.
Wow.
He wanted to know who brought them down, so Steve and I did that, and we were banished, and we had it good. We were like, remember when they would stay overnight at the
Pager Gate.
It was
Pager Gate.
It was very short-lived, but it was there. They stayed downtown. They used to be sequestered the night before the game.
Yeah, still are.
They
stay. It was the old Hilton. What is it now?
Does the Steelers still do that?
Yeah.
Do all teams do that?
I think so. Yeah.
Really? So that's still an
home
NFL.
and on the road. Yeah.
It's still an NFL. They did different home games, right?
Absolutely. It's not the Hilton. It's right the one in Gateway Center. What is it now? It's like a Wyndham. I think it's the Wyndham.
Okay.
But there was always the Hilton. So I worked at KDK for years, and you would see all those guys coming in.
I used to go there, and we were out on the floor. The 2 floors they had, and we're walking. Hey, Coach, he was perfectly fine until he knew what we were there for, and we had to be out by 8. Doors were shut at 8, but I mean, it was amazing. It was a Carnell Lake, and it was wonderful. They were
great
the
guys.
players were great. They treat us like gold. Cordell Stewart, great guy, treated us like gold, and it was all shut down because one of you jerks kept it on at a meeting, and he freaked out.
That's all it takes. Absolutely I do. But I just remember back, I mean, all of our photographers, and this is back in my Channel 10 days in Altoona, I mean, you would get a page, and you'd have to get to the nearest payphone. And sometimes, there's some rural areas out there in State College.
There isn't any payphones.
There's no freaking payphone. And you didn't have a phone. I mean, you didn't have a phone. I mean, people don't realize just how insane, like my kids, like when I try to explain to them and what I miss. I mean, journalism back in the day, like you could break stories. I mean, I broke Penn State going into the Big Ten.
Wow.
And it was phenomenal. You know, Coach Paterno announced to the staff 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. I'll never forget it. I get a call like 9:15. Hey, got a little something for you. I call every other Penn State coach. Bruce Parker, the basketball coach, Minnie Portland, the girls' basketball. I'm calling everybody. So I told all of them.
Yeah.
But he was the only one that knew.
Got it.
I mean, Joe was that. That he was the. I mean, who else is going to know?
Sure.
But there's no internet. There's no computers. I mean, I'm just working the phone. So I finally get a hold of Stanley Eichenberry. He was the vice provost at Penn State. Had become the provost at Illinois.
Okay.
He's no help. Gives me nothing. He's just, and I knew him. And I went, can you help a guy out here? He goes, I'm not going to be a part of this. So Bryce Jordan, who they named the arena after up there, he was actually at a music conference in Dallas.
Okay.
So thankfully, I'd done a few fundraisers. I'd emceed a few dinners with his wife, and I called his wife and I said, "Is Dr. Jordan there?" "No, he's away." I'm like, "Oh, do you happen to have his hotel?" "Sure, Paul. Hold on 1 second." I catch him in his room.
Wow.
I said, "Dr. Jordan, I hate to be an inconvenience. Hope you're having a good convention or whatever you're doing, but I have some really interesting news here, and I actually know it's true, but I don't put anything on the air until it's confirmed, and I need to confirm this. You would be my second source." I said, "Have you ever seen All the President's Men?" He goes, "Paul, one of my favorite movies." I said, "You remember how they worked with Deep Throat and how that all worked?"
What a setup.
I said, "If you don't say anything, I'm perfectly okay with that because we both know that I'm right. Tell me not to say anything, and I won't. But I think I've nailed this without a doubt." That's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Dead silence hangs up. I'm like, I got it. Yeah. So I'm begging my news director, we got to go on the air. Like, someone's going to get this.
Yeah.
It's floating. I told every Penn State coach. I mean, it's out there.
Yeah, it's going to get around.
And we didn't go on the air. Now you're on the air at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
We did the old. I mean, back in the day, it was 6, 11. That's when you did the news. Not 4, 5, and 6. You did it 6 and 11 for a half an hour.
Yeah.
That was the news.
Yeah.
So thankfully, no one got it. They let me.
That's very cool.
Lead the newscast at 6 o'clock. In 1994, Penn State will start play officially. It was 92 that they announced it, but 94 they'll start official. Big Ten play. But that kind of adrenaline. Now, when you break a big story, you know how long that shelf life is? 45 seconds.
If that, yeah.
Like, who cares if you break a story?
So that's
like Ed Bouchette now works for The Athletic, and I forget what he was telling. We were talking about something, and something came up, and he calls his boss. Do you want me to, they're like, "No, Ed. How about tomorrow I write a really nice reaction to what's going to happen?" He goes, "We don't play that game."
A reaction piece.
Yeah, do a reaction, because you know what? It's already out there. Everybody's doing that. I want you to do what's it going to mean.
Yeah.
I would like
Yeah.
I'm going to subscribe to I don't pay for anything because I can find anything wherever you want.
I get it.
I may actually subscribe to The Athletic because of their philosophy. They don't play the old, it's not a pissing contest. I mean, let it go.
Right.
No one cares about breaking stories.
Right. So that's a huge monumental change than the way.
That used to be everything.
Yeah.
Also, Mario's comeback.
Oh.
Got that one.
Really?
Oh. So I grew up playing hockey at the Monroeville Mall. That's how old I am. They had a nice rink in the middle of the Monroeville Mall. Now it's a food court.
Yes.
So there was a guy, God bless him, he's no longer with us, Dale Rossetti, was one of the nicest guys in the world. Guy never aged either. So he went from, the mall, the rink was gone, so he was running the rink on Neville Island. Right? I just went by there.
Right across the river.
So he gives me a call. He goes, "You wouldn't believe who's here every morning at around 7.
That's crazy.
I'm like, "Who?" He goes, "The big guy." I went, "Jay Caulfield." He goes, "Well, he's here, but he's working out his buddy." So I called Tom.
On Neville Island?
On Neville Island.
Wow.
7 in the morning. So I call Tom McMillan. He's the VP in charge of community. I go, "Tom, I know what's going on, but I want to do this the right way. I'm not going to be an idiot. I'm not going to blurt it. I'm not going to do anything, but I have it. I want to come with a camera tomorrow morning at 7. I'll call you back." He was pissed. I mean, he was so pissed. So I can't think of her name, but what was Craig Simpson's sister?
Oh, man.
Was a big-time reporter at TSN in Canada.
All right.
So he said, there's actually one other person that has hinted around to thinking they know something. You obviously know, but someone else thinks they know.
Okay.
Can we share it? I forget her name. She's a beautiful girl, too.
Okay.
Craig Simpson's sister. Would you mind if we share that? I go, as long as it's not, nothing in advance. Nothing gets out until we both, interview Mario and we both. We'll see you tomorrow morning. So
that's very cool.
It was so fantastic.
I bet.
He was skating with Jay, a good friend of mine, D. Rizzo, who I grew up playing with. I mean, D's just one of my favorite people in the world. I think it was Bob Airy and Mario, and it was awesome.
That's crazy.
That was so awesome. But I miss all that. I mean, one thing I still have, and it really helps me now in my current business, trying to help people buy and sell restaurants and bars.
Sure.
You know people.
Yeah.
And when they go, hey, a friend of mine wants to sell his bar, should they call you? Yes, they should call me. That's what I do. Like, a friend of mine wants to buy a restaurant. Like, should they call you? Yeah. Yes, they should call me.
Those are skills that you learned, though, in journalism and broadcasting. This is what you did, and that's a great transition to what you're doing now.
It is.
Mr. Franco. It's a great transition
because it's fun and it's. It is still connections. It's still, and it's still integrity. They still have to be able to believe me. I've never once said something on the air that wasn't true.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
I mean, our buddy Mark Madden, who I absolutely love, he gets people all out of their minds because he says stuff to just get a rise out of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, take you back to
Yeah.
So. I had the Jerome Bettis show on KDK Radio. We had exclusive live rights.
It's like in the 2000s, right? Like mid-2000s?
Yeah. It was like 2001 through 2005, something like that. And it was great. We'd always have it at a Dick's Sporting Goods store, and it was a blast. It was like really fun. Great guy. The only thing that we really had were exclusivity for live interviews.
Okay.
So Mark Madden's producer called Jerome, hey, get you on. He's like, I can't do it live. No, he said okay. And then I think we heard them promote it and we went, Jerome, you can't do that. So he calls Mark's producer back and says, can we tape something because I have a contract with KDK that I can't go live? No. So he decided that, again, this is what Mark does. Jerome's among the most popular players, certainly won the Steelers and in Pittsburgh. He goes, no, we're good. He just like for like the rest of Jerome's career, just ripped him.
Turned on him, yeah.
He blew me off. He told me he'd be on, and he didn't show up. He's not a man of his word.
He's not. So petty.
But no, it's brilliant.
In what way?
He's brilliant. He's a wrestling guy.
Well, I know that. Yeah, yes.
There's a good guy and a bad guy.
So it's all theater for him then.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he loves when he talks about hockey.
Yeah.
There's passion and it's real and there's knowledge
and soccer, I guess.
And he loves it. And a little bit of soccer, but it's theater.
It's theater.
And people go, I can't believe it. My show used to be 6 to 9.
Right.
And I think Mark went, he went like 3 to 7.
Right.
So I would have people like, friends of mine, dear friends. Do you hear what Madden said today? I'm like, no, I'm on the air. Clown, you're not listening to me. You're listening to me.
You're the wrong person, buddy.
But he would say stuff like, the only way I'd watch senior golf if I knew one of them was going to die while I was watching.
Oh, yeah. It was a shock value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does it masterfully.
Yeah, he does.
And the people that crack me up are the people that get upset.
Yeah,
don't get upset
because they don't understand his theater.
No,
and that's
they're not smart enough.
I guess not.
They're not.
And the irony is that those folks will label Mark Madden's fans as nothing but wrestling fans. They're uncouth. Meanwhile, he's basically
they're
putting
entertaining the heck out of them.
Exactly, and that entertaining thing is there.
Now I'm sure I've had people that hated me, but not. I mean, not for anything like that, like ripping Jerome Bettis or anything like that, or saying, I hope I see Arnie die today when I watch golf or something like that. It's awful. And even when he got fired for, talking about.
Is that one? I can't. He's been on 3 stations.
He got fired from
ESPN. He was a Colony for a while. What happened with him at Colony?
That was Mark got fired because he ripped one of the Kennedys or something. Said something really off color. And
that's right. Or the bridge.
Or whatever it was. Actually hilarious. In our politically correct world. But my favorite interaction between Jim and Mark was he would ask Jim a question and Jim would go, "It's none of your business."
I remember.
Jim, what are you doing this weekend? It's none of your business. Those two I thought were fantastic. I mean, I couldn't get, and Jimmy, please don't be offended by this. I love you. You know that. They didn't want Jim on the Fan.
Really?
And we had this knucklehead come in. I don't even know where he was from to launch the Fan. Okay. And this guy was all over the place. He not one thing he said was true. Not one thing. Like 2 weeks before we launched, he goes, by the way, you're going to do a 6-day. Would you like that to be Saturday or Sunday? And I went, No, I'm not doing doing a 6 day. That ain't happening. By the way, my 6 day is going to be on FSN because I'm still going to do weekends.
Got it.
Pirates and Penguins.
Got it.
I mean, I'm not giving that up.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the ultimate gig. I'm Monday through Friday, 4 in the morning until like 11 in the morning, and then I'm out every day.
Links.
Well, he goes, it's in everybody's. I go, it's not my contract.
Wow.
I read it. It's not in there.
Wow.
So I call FSN. I go, hey, you know what? I have not signed this thing yet. Are we still good? They're like, absolutely. Yeah, you're good. We're fine. Because we were still doing Stan's show. I was still the Steeler guy. I just couldn't. Radio, I just love so much. I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah. So
he finally, he gave in. And that's when I think our boy Greg Giannotti, who's now a superstar, hosting the fan morning show in New York City. He's a superstar. One of the most talented guy I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, he didn't like me because I knew everybody.
Okay.
And it bothered him.
Okay.
And I could tell it bothered him. Like people would come on the show like, Paul, what's going on? I'm like, and I could just see his face, like that moment of, you know what? What's that? And he would go, that's another Paul Alexander name drop. Because I would say, oh, he'd bring someone on. I'm like, you know what? I did this with him. I did that with him. And
it's a dig.
So, but the drops became so funny. He goes, keep doing it. It's funny. keep doing it. That was actually, and that's when our ratings really took off. We were just killing it.
Right.
But I mean, that's where it all went south there.
Wow.
But this knucklehead that was running the show, I mean, he told most of us that he never went to college, did radio since he was 15, and then we heard him tell other people he played baseball at Florida State. I mean, this guy was all over.
Something didn't jive there.
He was all over the place, but I think the fact that I never did work a 6 day and everyone else did, that started kind of that.
I graded
he
him.
thinks he's better than him. No, I didn't think.
Yeah.
And as I told a lot of the guys that were working that 6 day, like Johnny Burton had just got let go at TAE. Jim had been blown out at ESPN because they went Disney, I think, at that point or something like that. I said, guys, I went to bat for you guys here and got you hired. You came from no job to this.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I went from a really nice situation,
right,
full-time TV at FSM, which was fantastic, and I'm throwing a little chance here. This might not work. I mean, B94 people are pissed that we're taking their signal. That's a legendary, iconic, awesome
pop station in the state of town. Yeah.
I grew up listening to B94 good bit.
That was the
because
alternative
it was awesome.
DVE. That was
Absolutely.
like the alternative DVE.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hilarious.
Yep.
So that's the way that all went down. But it was a fun run. But man, I was doing a fair amount of TV. I remember one night they're in Chicago, night game, rain delay. I just went straight in to do the radio show without sleeping.
Oh my God.
It's 3:00,
You're there.
And then one other game, I would be so tired some nights. I remember working with Teak one night, and when Aroldis Chapman was with
Cincinnati?
the Reds.
Yeah, the Reds.
So
yeah.
we had this really nice, I think we gave it away, or we had this really nice Steeler recliner in the studio.
Okay.
So every time, I think they were on the road, so every time the Reds didn't score, I'd go sit on the recliner for a second because we're getting, I was up at 4, and it's midnight,
Yeah,
it's 1, I'm just starting to really, so, and I really thought I saw the entire game, and it went like 12 or 13 innings, and then Teak brings up Aroldis Chapman hitting 100 miles an hour. I didn't even see him pitch. I didn't even know that Aroldis Chapman had pitched. I went, yeah, that's crazy. And then we go to commercial, and they go, what was that? I go,
wow.
I had no idea Aroldis Chapman was even in the game. I had just for a second, just bam, I was gone.
Wow.
Just
talk about Teak for a second.
Oh,
because he was a favorite of mine as a kid. I loved him.
I used to tease him about it, but it's in the nicest possible way. Teak loves being Teak. So
that's cool.
The home games in particular.
Sure.
Just having people coming up and tell them how much they loved him in '79, and will you sign this? Will you do that?
It's all truth. It's all truth.
He was just so gracious and so humble, and had a really cool shared experience. My nephew, actually, he's probably my next nephew, and I just love him dearly because he's from my first marriage. And his best buddy underwent a heart transplant, and I mean, that's pretty traumatic.
No
and
question.
we almost lost Teak. It was not good when they were getting up to. They had to move him up
Right.
on the list to get him hooked up. So everybody settled down, and my buddy's best friend. Do you think I could meet him? And I went, meet him. How many people do you think he knows that So
Sure.
brought him up to the
Sure.
set, and I mean,
How amazing is that?
Teak just the way he is, and the way
Yeah.
I mean, we had so much fun. The last show we did, I mean, I probably have 1,000 pictures of just Teak and the whole crew
Amazing.
and everybody hanging out, and I mean, I was a senior in high school in '79,
Yeah.
and actually really fun. We did this thing called Before the Bell,
Okay.
on the PA system. So I would basically rip and read the Post-Gazette, and I would do the sports. We played some music, and we go in a half hour before school started.
That's pretty cool.
And then we do the announcements. But
That's very cool.
I remember starting every, that whole September, I would start every, so how about them Buccos? And people would come up to me, how about them Buccos? And I just remember being the biggest Teak fan, and Dave Parker, and just that whole Willie Stargell group. I mean, that was.
So
I love sports more than life itself.
Yeah, and that's, I think I did too, that growing up. It was a great, like you said, great town to grow up in. I remember driving up 79 with my folks, and my mother, it was 78, 79, year 79, and my mother tapped me on the shoulder and she said, look. And there was a Nissan 280ZX right next to us. Teak was in the passenger seat, passed out. And I'm assuming it was his wife driving.
Probably.
And my dad's like, how do you know it's him? And Teak's got you know it's Teak. So my dad speeds up, and there was his number was on a plate on the front of the car.
Teak.
So Teak, if you're listening, 280ZX, I think it was black and gold or black and silver, and it would have been the late 80s. And we assumed we were just driving to the ballpark because they got off the Pittsburgh exit to go down, and it was the middle of the afternoon. But that was, I mean, you remember those things.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. And the times I've been fortunate to be in his presence, he's been such a great guy. I love that guy.
There's nothing better. He got hooked up. I don't know how he did. Channel 10 in Altoona was right next to, and still is right next to, the Sheets headquarters.
Okay.
So I get to know the Sheets family really well. Great family. I mean, they're one of my favorite people.
Successful business.
They made their first billion more quickly than their first million.
Wow.
That's how, I mean, they're buttoned up. I mean, they're amazing. So he got in tight with the Sheets. I should have asked how he got in. He got to know Charlie really well. I knew Steve really well. A lot of charity golf events and things like that.
Yeah.
So we played Latrobe Country Club, the Sheets brothers and Teak and I.
Right.
And we have no idea. When we're done, we go in, we're going to have a drink afterward and, probably exchange a couple dollars, who won what or what happened.
Right.
There's Arnie.
Wow.
We didn't know.
Really?
We didn't know he was there. And that's another one. Talk
That
about
had to be a thrill.
the greatest man that ever lived, maybe, possibly. He was more excited to see Teak than Teak was to see him.
How about that?
It was just one of those moments. And I said, can someone get me an Arnold Palmer here with maybe a little Tito's or whatever? Can we get hooked up over here? I go, I want to have an Arnold Palmer with Arnold Palmer.
How about that?
I go, can we all have an Arnold Palmer?
Amazing.
So we all had Arnold Palmers with Arnold Palmer. That's a day.
That's a story.
Who gets
That's
to
a
do
story
who
there.
gets to do that?
Yeah, that's a story.
I mean, that's
with Teak.
With Teak.
Yeah.
That's
That's
you know
good
you're
stuff.
living.
That's
and
good stuff.
That's a good day. No one takes that stuff away from you.
No.
That's there forever.
Talk about those experiences. Who else have you met in this business where you almost had to go, you had to maintain your calm? A legend in this, someone you grew up with, you meet them and even interview them, and you have to keep your calm as a journalist.
I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And actually, this man was just a huge.
Besides Joe Paterno, naturally. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, Joe.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I mean, that was the first, because when we did every Tuesday the Joe Paterno, it's so funny, table no bigger than this, there'd be 7 of us and Joe.
Okay.
And I made the mistake one time. I forget who BC's quarterback was, but he was the coach's son. At the same time, Joe's son Jay was on the team, and Jay didn't even start in high school. I mean, he was just not a player. Good football mind, but not a player.
Right.
So I asked Joe about, what is it about coach's sons? I mean, and the quarterback at BC at the time, he just had that intangible. I mean, he was just so smart.
Sure.
Wasn't the greatest arm or the greatest. He just was smart and he could play.
Savvy.
And it was kind of like a coach's son thing. Mm-hmm. So I throw that out there, forgetting that Jay is also. He goes, Alexander, that's the most far-fetched, but a coach's son. I don't know, it doesn't mean anything. Coach's son, what does that mean? He's banging on the table. Like, what kind of question's that? Jeez. Like, oh, that's not good. But I got him a couple years later. I forget he was talking about, yeah, you guys in the media. And I just went, well, you coaches cheat, right?
Oh.
He goes, yeah, touche, Alexander. I guess, yeah. So funny. And then when I was working in Pittsburgh and I came back to cover a game or do a feature on something, and he goes, I ask a question, he goes, yeah, look who it is. It's Alexander. I go, we miss your family. We don't miss you.
That's brutal.
Oh, but just unbelievable. But no, the first, I'm nervous right now, even just thinking about the moment.
Okay.
I was asking for a sit down with Chuck Noll.
Wow.
And I never thought actually that they would give it to me.
Okay.
So there's this legendary bench right outside, the mess hall or whatever, the cafeteria at St. Vincent. And Dan Edwards was the PR guy at the time. He goes, Paul, we got him for you. Really? When? He goes, 10 minutes, good? I'm like, sure. Grab my photographer and I go, yeah, set up over here. Set him in. And I'm sitting there and I just went, I could, honestly, I could barely, I think it was 1984. I'm awesome. 22, 23 years old.
Wow.
And I probably needed to change my pants.
Yeah, I get it.
I was not comfortable.
I get it.
And then he goes, son, it's okay. It's okay. I said, sir, I'm really nervous right now. He goes, I don't know why, because we haven't even played a game yet. I don't think you're going to ask anything that's going to bother me too much, are you? And
there's a way to set it off for you.
That just completely lightened everything up. But I was scared.
Wow.
I mean, I was honestly intimidated.
Yeah.
No one else has really, since that time.
Yeah.
Everybody's, everyone's just another person.
No, I get that.
I don't really look at people that, I'm not starstruck. Never
no,
really,
you
really
never
have
seem
fun.
to be.
But
he was.
I'm so respectful.
Sure.
Like, to be around, I always called Arnie Mr. Palmer, and he was so gracious with his time. I got to play some golf with him and be around him in a way that I cherish. I absolutely cherish. And Joe was one of those guys, but we became friends.
Yeah.
One time, his daughter moved in catty corner to where I lived in State College, our last house, and Sue, his wife, was trying to drop some food off, and she didn't have her key, and no one was home, and some of it was perishable. And I go, Sue, I have a refrigerator in my garage. We'll just stick it in there, and I'll go see. I'll go see Mary Kay when she gets home. We'll be fine. So like that, I forget what. It was like a Friday, and then we have Joe's press conference on Tuesday, and he goes, "Hey, Alexander, my wife said you did a nice thing the other day. Thanks." I'm like, "Yeah, why do you have to say that in front of everybody? You know what I mean? Come on, like that's
you're ruining my reputation over here."
Mm-hmm. But I did. It was so funny. People still, Pitt people in particular, especially when I had my talk show. You're a Penn State apologist. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
When I had my talk show in State College, I was, I was a turncoat. How dare I say this about Penn State and say this? I've called it the way I've seen it forever.
Yeah.
I'm critical when necessary. Mm-hmm. I had Kerry Collins not talk to me. A game at Ohio State his junior year, he's, I think, 3 for 11 with 2 picks, and they get spanked. And I just said, what do you need to do to turn this around? He goes, what do you mean? He just wouldn't own it.
Really?
He wouldn't own it.
Wow.
And I just
wow.
So
what do you say at that moment to them?
You just keep going, and then this is funny. It's one of my favorite things every year. The Big Ten Media Day was always in Chicago, early August. So you sit down with 2 players and the head coach, one-on-ones with all of them. And my news director's like, we got to pay for you to go out there. I go, I get to sit down with Joe one-on-one. I know it's Chicago, but he doesn't do that here because he would have to do it for everybody. I said, the other stations don't go, the local ones. Pittsburgh stations don't go. Right. It's going to be me. It's like an exclusive.
Right.
So, I have to come clean. I did all of my work, and I would make it a 2.5, 3-day trip. I did all of my work in 4 hours. Got everything I needed. But that gave me 3 nights in Chicago, Cubs games, the absolute. So we're at this. They had this like 6 beers for. If you drank 6 of these beers at this place, you got a Viking hat. So I'm not going out of this bar without a Viking hat. I'm not driving anywhere. I'm going to definitely earn my Viking hat. So there I am. I finally have my 6th beer, and I got my Viking hat. In walks Kerry Collins.
Oh, my God.
Because he was the player that Penn State was bringing with him.
Of course.
Kajana Carter. And I just looked at him and I went, hey! And he just started laughing. I go, do you have a second? And he goes, sure. I said, do you understand that when you play really well, I just talk about how great you played and how awesome you were playing and how everything was fantastic and all of those kind of things. Mm-hmm. But when you don't, I say that too. Do you get that? That's what I do. I get it. He goes, I got to grow up a little bit. And that was before, that was going into the 94 season when they ran the table and had the best college offense. Every single player on that offense was drafted or in an NFL camp. 3 of the first 9 picks in that draft. Kajana went 1, Kerry went 5, Kyle Brady went 9.
I remember.
That team was just like stupidly good.
Right.
And then they award Nebraska the national title, which just pissed everybody off.
I remember that.
I mean, that was, I had Nebraska radio stations going, I know these guys well enough. They would play your bullshit team in a parking lot. Let's set it up. Your team couldn't even sniff.
Yeah.
Couldn't even sniff a game against the. I mean, we just had fun with it, but that group of guys. And then the
86 team was
the 86
awesome.
team, those are my guys.
Yeah, that was.
Shane Conlon lives in Pittsburgh now. Love running into him.
That was such a fun season to watch as a football fan.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that season very well.
I remember I grew very just not a big fan of Bob Costas.
Really? Because of that game?
That was the first time ever they had moved the game from January 1 to give it to its own. I mean, there was an undisputed. They were the only 2 undefeated teams.
Yeah.
It was 1 against 2. Yeah. It was the title game. So NBC, who had
was
the game,
the prisoners versus the
not the Catholics and convicts, but almost.
Something like that. Yeah.
So they moved the game to the 2nd, and I'm begging. I mean, when I want to get someone on my show or whatever, I hound them.
Sure.
So I'm hounding NBC.
That's why he's here today, because I hounded the guy.
I need Costas. And they finally give him to me, and I go, what does it mean to finally have the ability to move a game into its own, spotlight, its own thing? He goes, money.
Wait, that's what he said?
Yeah.
Wow.
At that point, I didn't even really want to talk to him.
Where'd he go with that?
He knows what I'm doing. Yeah. He's been interviewing people. So you are such an ass clown.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's just he's a tall midget and he's angry.
An angry one to boot.
And he actually is so good on the air. He's bad to me.
Yeah, I thought his play-by-play stuff was okay.
But when he's hosting, he's so pure and perfect. It's like he's almost robotic.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he's
on his
perfect.
own show. Yeah,
he's perfect.
Image-wise, yeah. It's not human.
Just his presentation is perfect.
Yeah.
And he's always the smartest guy in the room. Not a fan.
Yeah, not a fan of those people.
And that was maybe one moment. Like we said, you had a great moment.
Correct.
Maybe he's a good guy. And I've asked other people, they go, no.
You can't get reaffirmation of that.
No one's giving me good stuff on Costas. No one.
Who do you see on the national front that you actually consider a great play-by-play person? Let's talk about baseball. Okay. Great play-by-play and a great color commentator on the national front. Because obviously Joe Buck, everybody loves him or hates him. He doesn't bother me. I can't say I'm a fan.
No.
But I don't think about but he doesn't bother me. What does drive me nuts, though, is somehow the networks think he can do everything.
Well, they want him to be Nance. I mean, they have to have their version of Nance.
You think that's what it is?
Nance is out of this world.
Okay.
He's fantastic because, his NFL play-by-play, he and Romo now are just clicking. I mean, they're absolutely fantastic.
Romo came out of nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, they told him to quit predicting every play. They said, Tony, you're taking all the fun out of the game. You can't predict every play. Make it like when it's a big play, predict that one. Don't predict every play. Don't tell us what's happening before it happens every time.
But don't you think it's a little ironic that he was propelled so quick to like the A team, right, in NFL? But didn't the same thing happen a decade or 2 ago with Troy Aikman?
Oh yeah,
they pushed him to the top
right there because he left early because of concussions. So he was still he could have still played.
I see what you're saying.
He was. Still so relevant.
And it's passionate probably about it because he was just a season ago. He was just
right
there. Okay.
But he's vanilla. He does nothing for
me. I would agree.
Romo blows him away.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing bad about him.
No.
There's just nothing good about him. Like, he has no insight. He has no opinion. If you're a color guy, I want some opinion.
Sure.
That was a horrible. Why would you do that on 3rd and 3? I want to hear that.
Those guys aren't around anymore, though.
No, there's not enough. But Doc Emmerich, by far, is
everybody
the
loves
best.
Him.
The best. I mean, and I've tried to do hockey a few times, and it didn't go well. It's really, I mean, it is not
There's
natural.
Some honest statements.
It is not natural. And I mean, well, Bob Prince, I don't remember. They got it, we got it. They got it, we got it.
The gunner.
They got it, we got it.
So was he overrated, Bob Prince?
No. Hell no.
He was such a great part of Pittsburgh,
He was the absolute best. And, I do have that in common. I mean, KDK fires great people.
The gunner.
Oh, but see, to me, and I love Lanny. Lanny's a friend. And he's so solid.
Yeah.
Play-by-play.
Yeah.
And we do some high school basketball.
Can I interrupt you? Let me make sure I understand the timeline, because it was the gunner and Nellie Browse, correct? Correct. And then from there, the gunner stayed on as the color guy, right? And then Lanny came in after Browse. Is that right?
Well, actually, it was. This is horrible that I'm missing a name here. And
Was there Greg Benedetti? Was there
he
for a while?
he had a little moment, but no, he became the AD at Duquesne.
Milo Hamilton?
No, Milo
that was after the gunner, right?
Yeah, Milo was actually here for '79.
Okay.
Lanny didn't get to do that '79 series. That was Milo.
Okay.
This is breaking my heart, because he was a dear friend that I love so much. He as a retired as a Pirate broadcaster, he was Bob Prince's partner, and then he retired, and then he went to Duquesne to be their sports information director. And I can picture him.
Okay.
It'll come to me as I'm. It's just I'm getting old. I'm just getting old. Too many hits, but. Bob Prince was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just absolutely.
It made my childhood wonderful.
Oh,
it just did.
Bug on the rug, chicken on the hill, closer than a gnat's eyelash. Couldn't hit that
goodbye.
Couldn't hit that with a bed slap. I mean, I could go on and on and on, and his rapport with Clemente and Bob Prince was, and when I was working in State College. A couple times he came up to do some events, and I got to co-host some events with Bob Prince. You want to talk about? There's another intimidation.
Yeah, I bet.
But I got over that quickly, because we both shared a love for some cocktails. And, in that situation,
the gunner was never shy for dropping a cocktail or two.
Never. He was amazing. But the thing I love now is Greg Brown is that guy.
Yeah.
Greg Brown is that guy, and anyone who wants to tell me he's too enthusiastic, I'm like. Oh, yeah. Let's crucify a guy for being too enthusiastic.
That I don't get. I mean,
sometimes maybe a ground ball is short, for the second out of an inning of a 0-0 game. Maybe Greg gets a little, but I love,
it's
raise
better
the
than
Jolly
the
Roger, Cannonball coming. Those, see what Greg and what Bob Prince did, and again, this is horrible, but what maybe some guys that are more just professional and more
sterile?
More buttoned up, let's call it buttoned up. They don't bring fans to the game.
Gotcha.
They don't excite fans. Now, Lanny's, there was no doubt about it. That was good, and he's fantastic. Please don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I just like a little more folksy, a little more. I want the phrases. I want the fun. I want enthusiasm. I want to raise that freaking Jolly Roger. I get
that. That's a great one.
That's fantastic.
That's iconic in this town too now.
People don't realize that it's the guy that cuts Greg's hair that provides the majority.
Get out of here.
Yeah, for real. He goes, you think I make this stuff up? I don't make this stuff up.
That's great.
I don't.
That's great.
Yeah, he gets, and now, and Mike Lang. The same thing. He's another one. He's in the Hall of Fame for a reason, but all those, smiling like a butcher's dog. He had lots of them.
Beat him like a rented mule.
He had lots of them, but then people just supply. Once you start that, there's a lot of funny people out there that aren't on the air.
Yeah, I get that.
That supply you with all that stuff.
I get that.
And you just have to be smart enough to use the ones that are good.
Hockey, the hardest to broadcast?
Without a doubt.
Really?
It's just changing players. It's just, and it's end to end.
Following the flurry of activity, numbers, and
it's crazy. It's fast.
It is.
Now, when you do it, I was doing some Penn State hockey, which at that point, before it was D1, it was club, and it was a good place to learn.
Sure.
And I know I was really bad early. I got decent.
Okay.
Not good, but decent. Basketball to me is easy. It's the same five guys until they call a timeout. The guy's not leaving. He's not just stepping off the floor and a new guy coming in. You know what I mean? So to me, that's the easiest game to do because there's just such a rhythm and a flow.
Okay.
Baseball's a blast because you're
it's
telling
more relaxed,
a story,
though, right? And you have more time to fill there, right?
You're telling a story and you're getting the color guy in. With,
no. Yeah.
And I would always get to do a couple innings at spring training. Mm-hmm. That was kind of fun. I had one really good call. I forget who hit it. That's bad that I forget who hit it. I go, drive left field. If it's fair, it's gone. It Phillies home run. I mean, I was right. And here's a great. It was at whatever Bright. It was in Clearwater because the Pirates were playing the Phillies, and I was thinking their second year. They have a beautiful new spring training park.
Okay,
really nice. And the late great Harry Callis, who was another one that was just unfreaking believable. John Carmen. But I mean, he was just that. But he's in the booth, catching up with Lanny.
Got it.
And I'm like, do you really need to be in here? Like before we come back on the air, I go, Harry, I think someone's calling you. He says, oh, come on, young man. I'm like, but I mean, that was a little scary.
I bet.
Doing play-by-play in front of Harry. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
and that Harry. I almost made a mistake there. Harry Carey.
Yeah, Carey.
Harry Callis was the Phillies. Harry
right,
Carey was
Carey's in Chicago. Yeah, that was
Cubs fan, Bud man. Is it getting any better than that?
Nah, you can't tell me once in a while he didn't have a little nip in the booth.
Well, let's not forget about Myron.
See, another great part about being another
Myron.
great person about another great reason to be a sports fan as a kid in the 70s that you loved.
Oh.
He was such a. I mean, it was incredible to me. Even going into the 80s, when they had bad teams, he made it interesting.
He would do that Christmas Carol on TAE TV.
I remember.
La 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 la. I mean, that's another guy. So he's writing a book.
Oh my God.
I was working at KDK at the time, TV, and we go to do a feature on him writing a book.
Right.
So we go to his house. Mike Regan was a photographer, and we go over there, and he has this big box and like 1,000 parts all over the place. He goes, "Can you guys help me with this?" He just bought his first computer. So I look at him like going, I can't. Maybe Mike can. Mike goes, I can help. Let's do the interview first. So we do the interview, and it was early in the day, and I didn't have to get anything together until 6 o'clock or whatever. So Mike does, God bless him. I mean, he puts the whole computer together, gets it working, everything's fine, had a printer, had that set up. So I see Myron like 2 weeks later. I go, how's the computer working? He goes, I hate that thing. I had him come take it back. I go, I'm not telling Mike. He goes, no, please don't tell Mike. 2 hours, he builds his computer.
Oh, my God.
And Mike goes, I don't like it. I like to write stuff down. People don't realize he was one of the most celebrated, talented sports writers of his generation. He wrote for Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, so that is missed.
And he covered boxing, and he covered a lot of big events.
Yeah, that's what I was told.
As a phenomenal. And back in the day, and I would sit in my dad's office, and he'd be doing paperwork. He was a sales guy, and at the end of the day, he had to put all that paperwork together.
Right.
And we would listen to Billy Hillgrove, who's another great play-by-play man, fantastic play-by-play man, Stan, and then Myron.
Get out.
Every night.
Wow.
And my dad, and this really helped me when I started having my own talk show, my dad would talk to the radio. That's crazy. Who would ever say, no one would say that. No, that's not true. And I'm like, Dad, why don't you call? I was like, nah, don't call those shows. But like some nights, like the phone's not really ringing, and you're thinking no one's listening.
Right.
No one's calling.
Got it.
They're listening.
Got it.
They're just not calling.
Got it.
And that really helped me on those nights that sometimes, like these 2 nights, the All-Star break.
Right.
I would always try to take this week off because you don't want to do a sports talk show when there's no sports.
Got it.
It's just, there was 2 go-tos, though. My favorite, Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it just rings off the hook. I mean, that's like that. I mean, that one's easy, and this one really became fun. And I think you would love it. You could try it on your Saturday show.
I will.
This is fantastic.
Good.
Where did you go to high school? Who was the best athlete ever to come out of there?
That's a good one.
Oh,
that's actually a great one.
It's so and it's so much fun.
I'm going to use that Saturday
to remember. Like, what did he play? All 3 sports? Did he do this?
Got it.
What, did Cheap? What?
Got it.
I just loved doing that show, and that like, sometimes there'd be. I remember getting called. I made it all the way home, like pop-up shower, rain out. I'm like, you're kidding me? I'll be there as soon as I can. Boom. Zero preparation.
Right.
And that's the first time I did that. I just went, you know what?
That's a good one.
Let's talk a little, because that's my buddies and I get together.
Yeah.
A couple cold ones.
Sure.
That inevitably, do you remember this guy? Do you remember that guy? Did you ever see this guy play? I mean, and people, one of my favorite things that people don't realize if they're not old enough, like now I'll have to ask Mike White, who's legendary as a high school sports writer, just legendary. We may have 4 or 5 D1 college basketball players in Western Pennsylvania right now.
Right.
When I played in high school, and I went to Churchill from 76 to 79 or whatever that time.
Okay.
In the whole 70s, we would have at least 50 to 60 D1 players.
I believe it.
At least.
I believe it.
And big-time stars.
I believe
Big-time players. That just,
Yeah.
playing, and we used to go to, they called it 5-star camp up at Slippery Rock. We'd go up there, you'd play against Sam Clancy and Larry. I mean, it just...
Why is basketball never taken off in this town?
I don't know. I really don't. It was big then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was big. I mean, I went to every single Duquesne game, every single Pitt game. I went to college basketball games. I mean, that was my religion. Basketball at a point in my life was my religion. I just loved it.
Do we just not have a big enough population?
Yeah, we're down. I mean, at that time, in the 70s, we were market number 7.
Okay.
So now we're like 24.
Wow.
So I think it is population.
Wow.
But there's a lack of love. Like there's not a want to.
So a
there's
pro
not
team wouldn't come here.
No, I don't think. And I've talked to the Penguins. They would love to have another tenant there. I mean, that would be financially fantastic. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny. My son, who's 16, of course, became a soccer player. The one sport I know very little about. I got him on skates to play hockey. I played hockey growing up, football, basketball, baseball. He played them all. I made sure he at least tried them all. I wanted to see what he liked, and he gravitated towards soccer. He's going to be the starting goalkeeper for 3 years at Gateway, which is great. He loves it.
Awesome.
I now have fallen in love with it too. But now that I'm not really doing a daily sports talk show or anything like that, he's a sports nut.
Of course.
Dad, you see that?
Of course.
I'm like, no, I didn't see that. I mean, no, I don't. I don't watch the NBA regular season. I don't. He's like, and then he's the one that told me about Zion.
Yeah.
When he was still in high school. He goes, Dad, you got to check this guy out.
Wow.
I'm like, and it's really fun. They have a tournament in West Virginia, and they moved it to where they play the hockey. What is that? Anyway. Right across the river in West Virginia. There's a doctor down there that does this tournament every year. I think it's been this year was
Weirton?
Yeah.
Okay.
This year was the 10th year.
Okay.
And they bring in the best teams in the country.
Wow.
So that's where Lanny and I hook every year. He'll do half a dozen games. I'll do half a dozen games, and I think we put it on ESPN3. I don't even know. I've never seen them, but I love calling the coaches and doing the games.
I bet.
And that's
I bet.
And I was hoping that Zion was going to be there, but he wasn't. But Bull was there. He's like 7'4" or something, shooting threes.
Crazy.
So I've seen all these guys. That I still get that touch of the one and dones. You see a bunch of them. Sharif Cooper, keep that name. He was only a junior last year, and he had all the ballyhoo, and he was all that. First half, he has like 6 points, and he just looked disinterested.
Wow.
Then he had 30 in the second half, and just like he decided his team, and he's a 6'1" point guard, and he decided his team was going to win, dunking on people. Special player. He'll be. I don't know if he'll be one and done at that size, but he might be that good.
There's always hope every year that Pitt's going to do something. Basketball. There's hope on both sports, the major sports. I get it.
They have the right coach. I don't know if you've been around Jeff at all, but wow.
Good stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he has the pedigree.
All right.
And it's going to be a culture.
Okay.
He's going to develop a culture.
He needs to.
And, Ben Hallen was my guy.
Yeah.
He and I became very close. I got really upset with him. I ripped him on that nightly sports call for lying to us about the UCLA job, and he flat out lied. And I remember coming home after doing the show, and my ex-wife's like, "Got a Ben Hallen on the phone?" Oh, okay.
Really?
And he had that little lisp I really liked. And like, Paul, I'm not even going to try to do it, but he just said, I was blinded by my ambition. He goes, I wanted that job so bad, I acted poorly. And I apologized because we're friends. And, I said, we're good.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But I don't like getting lied to.
No.
I don't.
Especially in your business.
I don't.
In your business.
It's not.
In your business.
No, it's just not.
Have you been?
It's not acceptable.
Have you been bitten before like that throughout your career?
Oh yeah, a couple times.
Like sources say that kind of stuff.
Well, I never go on the air with that.
Okay. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Just don't. But Josh Lay, remember him, the great quarterback at Aliquippa.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted him. So
I remember that name now.
One of my Penn State guys and Joe were in town, and my guy calls me and goes, "We got a verbal from Josh today." I go, "Can I go with it?" He goes, "Yeah, it's done." So I go on the air at 6 o'clock on KDK and say, Josh Slyke, big get for Penn State, left-handed quarterback, play a little safety, whatever, he's an athlete, Mike Smianik, the head coach at Aliquippa, had promised Pitt that Josh was going there.
Okay.
So he, big denial, don't believe what you hear on TV, So they had put Josh, and I'll... Believe me, I know what happened. They put him under like some bright interrogation light, broke him down, and he changed.
Wow.
So Mo Weekly.
It's terrible.
Remember Mo Weekly?
Yeah.
He was a big nose guard on that same Aliquippa team. So this is the way I got it done. I go out the next day, and I go, so Josh, change your mind. He was,
non-committal.
I didn't want to push him too hard because there was just some limitations there. So I just let him go because I knew what happened. So I go to Mo Weekly, who was hysterical. How about he puts in the Pitt? I can't believe Pitt printed this. He put in the Pitt media guide what he wanted to do when he was done with school was be a gangster. That was in the media guide. That was in the media guide. Gangster. Yeah, we wanted to be a gangster.
That's insanity.
And I think that's when he ended up at IUP as a gangster. I think, but. So I asked Mo that day, what was your reaction when Josh told you he told Joe Paterno he was coming to Penn State? I go, you got to be kidding, man! You got to be coming with me. So we all changed his mind. He told Joe he was coming, but we got that straightened out.
Okay.
So I just went to Mike, and Mike Smianik and I we're real good buddies.
Sure.
But I said, Coach, you call me a liar? Don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Yeah.
Because you know what?
That's unfortunate.
At the time, it was true.
Yeah, he was right.
He told Joe Paterno he was coming.
Wow.
You changed his mind. And that's fine. That happens. I mean, recruiting's a whole other world out there.
I can't imagine.
But that's one of the only few times that I really had to, you're lying. Don't believe what you hear on TV. I mean, a funny one. I don't remember. Do you remember Gary Brown?
Mm-mm.
He and, do you remember Leroy? What was Leroy's last name? Two great tailbacks. Leroy ended up being a tailback for the Steelers, running back for the Steelers.
Okay.
So Joe knew that he couldn't, both of them were like stars. Gary Brown becomes a safety.
Okay.
So Penn State, in the first day of camp, Joe talks to some players, and then you're forbidden.
Wow.
Until the week before the first game.
Okay.
So it's like 3 weeks where
no info.
No practice. You're not no open practices, no video, no anything.
Okay.
It's dark, nothing. So I, of course, always had sources and information. Sure. Gary Brown's playing safety. I go, come on. All right, let's give this a couple more days before I send. He's definitely playing safety.
Okay.
So I'm like, that's it. I'm going on the air with it. The big, long-time columnist for the local paper, don't believe what you read on TV, blah, 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 blah. And I just finally saw him at the first game, and I just went, wow, look where Gary Brown's playing. His name was Ron. I said, Ron, do you think I would ever go on the air? And I ripped him, and I just said, you know what, you've been spoon-fed for a long time. Instead of digging during that 2 weeks for information and see what's really going on at practice, you're happy with giving whatever they give you. You just write.
Right.
Like I don't know what you call that, but I call it bullshit.
Yeah, it's not journalism.
And you know what? I had a scoop, and it's okay that you were upset. I get it.
Right.
But to say that I was lying and don't believe what you see on TV,
that's a horrible label to put on
Come
somebody.
on, you kidding me?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So Gary Brown ends up playing like 8 years. Leroy Thompson was the other guy.
Okay.
Gary played like 7 years for the Oilers as a running back.
Wow.
As a big-time running back.
But he was a safety.
Safety at Penn State. Holiday Bowl, forget what year, Ty Detmer won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Biggest play in the game. He's back to throw from his blind side. Gary Brown takes the ball right off his arm, runs it in for a touchdown.
Okay.
So cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it made sense. And talk about, like, those days. I mean, Gary Brown played 7 years as a running back in the NFL.
Incredible.
He said, I'll play safety. That's fine.
Wow. He did it for Joe.
Yeah.
Joe told him to do it.
That was, he goes, hey,
that's a
you
team
guys
move.
you guys could both start, but I'm going to go with Leroy. Unbelievable.
It was his decision?
Yeah. Wasn't happy. He wasn't happy.
I would imagine not.
No. But I always thought, playing football in high school, man, I thought it was a lot more fun to hit people than get hit.
I would think so. Not playing football for the reason I didn't like to be hit. I could imagine hitting.
But it's fun to hit.
Hitting would be better. Yeah. Hitting would definitely be better.
No doubt.
All right, you gonna come back and see me again?
I would love to do this. Absolutely.
Next
anytime.
time we're gonna do a knee, then we're gonna have some beers.
Okay.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
is
wait,
great.
hey, give me the scoop on the brewery right across the street.
Yeah, the Cobble House.
What's the deal?
I've
you been in?
I've yet to walk in there. Very limited hours.
Okay.
Supposedly amazing beer.
Yeah.
The Cobble House. See,
That whole IPA thing has changed my life.
has it really?
It has.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you why. The reason I say that is usually you being in broadcasting and I'm not knowing what you had to do this evening because we didn't talk about what your plans were. I thought maybe you had a gig to go to. That's why there's no beer here.
Okay.
I usually ask my guests ahead of time, what do you want to drink? And it's amazing. I had Tony McAlpine, a great guitar player, legendary guitar player on the show. Honored to have him.
Right.
His staff goes, you have to get him some kind of Belgian beer or something. So I go, okay, Belgian quad, whatever that means, right?
Right.
I don't know. 2 cases. $160. So we get it. It's 9% alcohol.
Wow.
So we're all sitting around and I'm trying to conduct this 3-hour show and
Whoa!
but I was turned on to the fact that, and I started trying different these IPAs. Now I kind of get it. I didn't get
You
it
only have to
initially.
drink 2.
You ain't
You only
kidding,
can
man.
drink 2.
So are you becoming a beer snob?
I am.
See,
I
that's
am.
everybody says will happen.
I really am.
So what do you
But
love?
we have so many.
So what do you love then in Pittsburgh?
All the fatheads.
Okay.
All the Helltown.
Bumbleberry's really
Oh yeah, the Helltown, which now they're going to blow up because
Okay.
they bought the Rivertown Brewery.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Rivertown went down unfortunately because they were a good group of people. But Helltown bought that. They're gonna blow up. Obviously, right there, Sierra.
Yeah.
Is fantastic.
Yeah.
All their products good. Southern Tier is fantastic.
Yeah.
We're lucky to have them where we have them.
bet.
That's fantastic.
I bet.
There's some others
You're trying to
coming in.
across the river here. Does Urix? Is it Urox? Whatever it is. It's right over in Emsworth or Bellevue. You familiar with them?
No. How about the Dancing Gnome? That
what?
place is insane.
Where's that at?
I think Sharpsburg.
The Dancing
The
Gnome.
Dancing Gnome.
Okay.
So in the front end, it's just like, I think they probably have like 8 to 12 taps. And there's just people in there drinking. I went there on a Saturday. A friend of mine goes, hey, meet me at the Dancing Gnome. I'm like, I'm like you. I'm like, what? The Dancing? I'm like, I'm not a hipster, dude. I'm like, I'm old. I don't know what the hell that is. No, meet me there. You're going to love it. And sure enough. And then in the back, I mean, they're just canning this stuff.
Really?
And just, it's moving.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
There's
crazy.
a market for it.
And then they park a food truck out front.
Yeah, that's what
They don't have any food.
That's what the Cobble House does. Yeah, they do the same thing. Or you go cross street
And
to
you
Anthony
can get,
Juniors.
and again, I have some expertise in this area now. You can get a brewing license for $5,000.
That's amazing.
Liquor license, $85,000. Cranberry, $400,000. King of Prussia,
$400,000
$1 million.
for a liquor license.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean they vary county to county. It's kind of
So
crazy.
a brewing license is only $5,000.
Correct.
That's why you're seeing the
Oh
proliferation.
yeah, I mean, why not do it? I mean, why not do it? Get a decent piece of real estate, get a decent lease, and start brewing beer. And like they
You're hearing it here?
they
Paul
do
Alexander.
they do limited hours. We have enough food trucks I think now in Pittsburgh where
yeah.
you
How
can
about
just
that?
you can just hook up with them and all the good. All of my favorite restaurants are like, I got to get a food truck, and they do. They go out and get a
Yeah.
food truck, and they arm it up. There was a place in the Strip, I think, where they build them. You get
What started the craze?
the food truck craze.
Well, no, even the IPA craze.
I have no idea.
It's crazy.
I have no idea. I mean, it probably saved a lot of calories and maybe even some brain cells, but I used to drink like Miller Lite.
Yeah, me too.
but then I did Icy Light Sports Talk. So,
Yeah.
and I always support the local.
Sure,
always. In fact, if you're out there right now drinking Coors or Miller or any of the
it's
above,
not a Pittsburgh beer.
drink Iron City Light. If you're drinking light beer, it's brewed to be a light beer. It's not like Miller Lite. They brew it and then, they brew Miller and then they cut it half and, with water.
Yeah.
So that it's just watered down beer.
Right.
They actually brew Iron City Light as
Really?
a light beer.
Okay.
And it has, when I was doing Icy Light Sports Talk, I would be out and I'd be like, can I buy you an Icy Light? Well, I'm like, I'm buying it. Just get rid of that damn Coors Light. Get rid of that Miller Light. Get rid of that other stuff. And they'd be like, "Oh, hey,
I'm going to accept your challenge.
Hey, that's pretty good."
I'm going to accept your challenge. I'll put down my Miller Lite, and I will try that.
It's really good, and it's little birdie told me that that building in Lawrenceville is going to make a big comeback.
I hope. That's an iconic location.
1861.
Iconic location.
1861 stage, one of those food incubators, probably with 5 or 6 kitchens.
Get out.
Brew pub. it's going to be. And that location's out of this world.
Pittsburgh's amazing for things to do now, entertaining-wise. I mean, just the place that went down to McKees Roxio, the new theater there. There's big acts coming there.
I know.
It's crazy to me.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and all the unique boutique restaurants and bars.
Hey, we're for 2019, we're the #1 restaurant city in the country.
Wow, I did not know that.
Number one restaurant.
It's amazing.
In the country.
That's amazing.
There's so many great spots.
Yeah.
I mean, there really are.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be tough to find like a special meal. You know, I mean, you had the standards up on Mount Washington, and you were paying a lot more for the view than you were the food. I mean, let's be real.
Without
let's
question.
Be real.
Without
and
question.
It was still special because that view is breathtaking. But you know, you're dropping a lot lot for a pretty.
It's an event up there.
A pretty decent meal.
Yeah, it's an event up there.
Now you're getting like just fantastic food everywhere,
and the food trucks are delivering it, which is amazing to me.
Oh man,
because 20 years ago, if you told me a food truck was down the street, now I would not eat there.
No,
because there was
you can eat food out of a truck.
Exactly right. There was a stigma attached to that,
and
now it's unbelievable.
We have one for sale right now that, if I was younger, they call it the Rescue Wagon. It's equipped with 5 taps, a pizza oven,
oh my gosh,
and a deep fryer.
In a food truck. That's nuts.
And it's a 1955 fire truck that they converted. So it's like unbelievably cool.
Wow.
And you have to get a liquor license to go with it, though. So that.
Oh,
the
liquor, or you have to have a liquor license?
You do.
Not a beer license.
Well, they don't really sell those anymore.
Okay.
Like the beer and wine licenses, they've kind of gone.
Interesting.
They've kind of gone away.
Interesting.
Yeah, that whole world is different to me.
Before you leave here, talk to people who don't know what else you're doing now.
I am brokering bars and restaurants, basically.
Right. For the Safranco group.
I don't think that's a bad word. Brokering's not a bad word.
No.
If you want to buy or sell,
it's a great word.
A bar or restaurant. If you want to buy or sell a beer distributor, if you have or know of a liquor license that someone would want to sell, that's exactly what we do. And we're the only game in town that really is full-fledged everything, you know, as far as the industry is concerned. I mean, hospitality-wise, we got you covered. Our principal has been at it about 32 years. He's opened and closed, I think, over 30 restaurants.
Wow.
I don't know if I should go into some of the places he's established, but I mean, this guy has taught me so much in a short amount of time, and it's fun.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's good.
Good for you.
I need to get a little deeper into my finger's not quite on the pulse of everything that's going on.
Right.
But I'm getting close.
There.
I'm getting close.
Yeah, you're getting there.
I'm making my way around.
So I can't imagine you're finding any more time for golf. Because I know you love golf.
I do. I played.
I mean, your plate's pretty full.
Yeah, it's. I used to play, and it really was just because of my schedule. I mean, I would play 3 or 4 days a week.
Right.
Because I could go, back when Churchill Country Club was open, I would go. I lived in Monroeville. Churchill was exactly halfway to work.
Got it.
Usually in the fall or in the spring because the kids are in school. Get up with them. They go to school. I go play golf.
Got it.
I eat lunch, take a shower, go to work. And
that's not a bad gig.
I play like 2.5 hours.
Got it.
I'd have 2 or 3 other guys. I mean, a lot of guys, had normal jobs, but some guys didn't. Played with a lot of the older guys that were retired. And, man, when you play a lot of golf, it starts to make a little sense. And just the opposite happens when you don't.
When you don't play it. Absolutely right.
You hit shots that, absolute hackers hit. You roll it off the tee. When you don't play anymore, like you'll hit a shot, you're like, what was that?
You lose it quick.
Like, what was that?
You lose it quick.
Oh,
that's horrible.
But I've been lucky enough. I've played Laurel already this year, which is just phenomenal. That walk is just ridiculous. That place is so beautiful. When I played Firestone, they have the senior PGA that starts today.
Okay.
So we were able to get on the course before they shut it down, the last day before they shut it down. Yeah. So we went up and played, and then a real gem, Old Stonewall. I still do the radio commercials. So
do you really?
I do.
That's awesome.
So we do a little.
That's
I
awesome.
play a little golf, talk a little Old Stonewall. That place is
What's wrong with that?
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a beauty.
But we played. It was like 100 degrees, man.
You don't care
late
though.
in the day. No, I got the work in. We closed the day out there.
He doesn't care. A hardcore golfer does not care.
No, not when you're out there.
Yeah, casual guys like me, and that's like, and it's hard to get out enough to be regular and be good.
Yeah,
it's hard.
And the people that make me laugh the hardest, they play once a week. They don't hit balls in between. And they show up at their local course, their local foursome, at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and they go, "I can't believe I'm not getting any better."
You can't.
the real like miracle would be like the mind-blowing news of the day is if you did.
Yeah.
Why would you get better when you haven't
Once a
practiced,
week.
you haven't taken a lesson, you haven't done anything? You just show up and put the ball. You don't even warm up. You put the ball on the ground and you start playing, and you think, I should be better.
It's the hardest game possible.
It's stupid.
And people talk about hitting a curveball. Yeah, I get it. In a team sport, I get that's probably the hardest thing. Maybe I don't know, but golf is just will tear your heart out.
Watch the best players in the world. I mean, they'll shoot a 64, and then like a 70.
Yeah,
and they're just they hit bad shots.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
The best players in the world.
There's no question.
They hit bad shots.
But they're so damn good though. They're so consistent though. They are. And that's the one thing that's the intangible where watching it on television you can't even appreciate, but go watch it. Go actually to a golf event and watch the pros. That changed my whole disposition on the whole. I watched Curtis Strange in the late 80s when he had that run for 2 PGAs in a row or something, and
2 opens.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it was opens, correct. And just watching the precision was amazing to me.
Stupid.
Yeah. But in all sections of the game, the drive, the chip,
everything,
the putt, because you have to do it all.
When Joe Hardy signed VJ, became one of his sponsors, 84. Right. They were still having the events down there. I hosted a clinic. We put a wireless mic on VJ and hosted a clinic. And he never stopped talking. And he was just hitting the most majestic 7-irons like anyone had ever seen. They were just, it's so cool. I love Shot Tracker now. I mean, if you would have had a Shot Tracker on those shots, every single one of them landed within a yard of the other. Like there were balls on top of each other because he was just hitting 180-yard 7-irons, crisp and perfect while he's telling everybody how to do it.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
That's
I mean, he's one of the best ball strikers ever.
Wow.
And one of the hardest workers.
No one's hit Vijay Singh.
No one's ever hit. They assume that no one's ever hit more practice balls than he has.
Wow.
Ever.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That's how you get better, by the way.
That's how you get better.
Get a lesson.
Yep.
Seek your PGA professional. Get a lesson and then practice if you want to be good.
Yeah.
If you don't care, you like to go out and have a couple pops and play, that's fine too. That's pretty much where I am now. I mean, I'll break 80 maybe twice a summer. Everything else is around 85.
But still.
Because I'll take 3 or 4 double bogeys because I don't know where the hell it's going.
And that's still better than 75% of the golfers out there.
and my son, who I think it's such a great, and I taught my daughter how to play, and she ended up playing 2 years of high school because she thought the girls' coach was cute. So what better reason? What better reason to play high school golf than that?
Can't think of a better reason.
But Eric, the first shot she ever hit, I put a 7-iron in her hand on the driving range, and she hit a high draw with her first swing.
Get out.
And I just went, we got something here.
Yeah,
do you really want to do this? She goes, I do. So my son and her, we played last week. Just played 9 holes, and she hit a couple drives, 250.
That's very cool.
And my son was like, he's 16, he's now 6'2". I mean, she emancipated him.
No
like
kidding.
she really.
Wow.
I go, dude.
It's a little humbling.
Dude, what's going on here?
That'd be a little
what's
humbling.
going on?
That'd be a little humbling.
Oh, I pushed. I should have not done that because he was pissed.
You couldn't resist.
I had to.
You couldn't resist.
Oh, and she loved it too.
All right, friend.
She killed it. All right.
This is awesome.
What a pleasure, my friend. This was a lot of fun.
I think we should do this on a regular basis.
Anytime.
Yeah.
This is a great spot. This is such a cool little studio that you have.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're trying to get some traction.
You've done a great job with this.
I did it all by myself.
That's awesome. You should be proud.
It's good stuff, and it works for what we're doing, I think. And again, this is long form conversation, and you are someone who I've admired your work for a long time.
Oh, you're very kind.
And I was when you actually emailed me back, because I will tell you, I've asked other folks in different fields, and they sometimes they get back with you and sometimes they don't. Oh. You're very kind, and for you to come and do this means a lot to me.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I mean,
it's good stuff, and you probably have a lot more stories.
Too many of my friends have heard my stories, so at least you haven't heard them. They don't want to hear them again.
Well, here's the thing. This is the thing I don't understand. I get some pushback from some of your contemporaries.
Right.
And the reason I think is because they say, well, my station won't like this because it's another form of fraud. Well, my issue is, number one, we're not sponsored by anybody.
Right.
I don't have a sponsor, don't want a sponsor. This is all, it's just a project.
It's just fun.
It's just fun. We're just talking.
Right.
And again, I think it really is about our guest. Hearing more about your story is the point of this. What happened to you? What you loved about the field, the experiences. This is the rich part about it. We could go riff about the Pirates and spring training. No one cares about that. They hear enough of that anyways. It's about our guest. And I think if more of your contemporaries could see it really is about their story, as opposed to trying to get them to talk about what they do on air anyways.
Yeah.
Because that's not what we're doing.
No,
I think they would see.
There's so many great. This is a great town.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, just tremendous people. Thinking about all the people that do what they do on the air.
Right.
I mean, they're just great people. There's a couple,
including you, my friend. Including you.
There's a couple that maybe, certainly won't.
You're always going to have that.
Certainly won't mention any names.
You're always going to have that, my friend.
In general.
But
really
like
people.
Greg Brown or any. I'd love to have Teak at some point in time. Steve Blass, people that are making their mark here and hear their story. I'm not asking them to pontificate on the Bucks or the Penguins or anything. I want to hear the stories.
How'd you get into it? Steve Blass. We didn't even. I can't believe we didn't touch on.
I'm hoping that maybe with your help at some point in time,
I would be happy to.
We will get Steve, and I'd love to have both of you on.
Beer would help.
Beer will do it.
Beer would help.
Oh yeah. Well, we drink Red Stripe once in a while too. It's lazy.
Come to Jamaica, man. Oh.
Hey, I would welcome the opportunity for you, and here I am broadcasting this for you, to bring any contemporary that you work with, and we can have a good time. We can riff here for 3 hours and have fun with it.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy.
All right, man.
Thank you again. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Paul Alexander. There it is.
I don't even know. Where's the camera? Right there.
There's like 7 of them.
Yeah, there's cameras everywhere.
We'll see.
Bye-bye.
Buddy, that was
fun.
I'm blown away.